Okay. We are now officially live. So, hello everyone, it's your favorite programming error that just refuses to be fixed, CodeErr. And welcome back to RetroSpecter. Again. I know in the previous FNF stream we didn't have RetroSpecter, but while it's true that we got all the stuff done, in terms of check marks and everything, we still haven't read the lore. So yes, we're not quite done with this mod yet. So let us return once more for what will probably be the final time this time, depending on how much lore there is. There is a lot of lore, but I assume this will be the final time we're seeing this mod. Except for maybe revisiting it in the future at the end of streams when I replay songs. But yeah. That's that. Extras and credits. Gallery and archives. We have the credits, which we already watched. Binny, congrats on being first, and hello. I assume you want to keep chilling in Neon stream for more Limbus company, as you have been doing, but I appreciate you swinging by over here as well. Achievements and unlockables. Yep, there's the lurk. Figured that was coming. Alright, let's see. I wanted to see what kind of achievements. Okay, 166 out of 210 on a first playthrough, not even trying to go for all this stuff. Okay. Okay, yeah, unlock every achievement 100% the mod. It will be watching you closely. I'll try to get there eventually. Okay, we know that. The 4-year-long cliffhanger. Chain champ. An apocalypse. Spend a minute with any node chained up. Okay, I could try going for that eventually. Yes, Viking, there is a wheel to more easily access, like, specific sins. But yeah, we'll go through everything just to see what's up. Blinding Rage, we got that. Hit a regular node while it's being concealed by Hydra node's Hellfire. I did that. Complete any song, retro on any difficulty. Yeah, we did that. Complete the song without hitting any Hydra nodes. That's gonna be a bit tougher. Yeah, hi to you as well, Viking. It's always nice to see you again. Can you hear me now? Wait for Retro's phone to hang up. Okay, that's gonna be something to do. Again, I'll probably do most of the achievements off stream. But I will read the lore and see what the achievements are about. Win with at least 10 stacks of poison applied. Flaccid acid. I guess I'll have to try that at some point. Complete the song Satisfacture. I did that. In RAF, witness Catastrophe Retrospector's transformation. What is this? Unlock every achievement in the RAF category. Okay, I'm working on it. Wait, this can get harder on Ectospasm. Die 7 times in a row for a special surprise. Wait, this can get harder. Is this where the game tells you about Apocalypse difficulty if you die 7 times on Ectospasm? I guess that's where the game would tell you that Apocalypse difficulty is a thing. I can beat these cuffs, hit chain nodes. Yep, we did that. Instruction manual and side stories complete. Spectral as Atrocian, I did that. Ah, the 3 songs, right, got it. Probably, it would make sense, wouldn't it? Complete Retro's Weekend Story Mode on Hell difficulty, I did that. Lizard Hazard, completed on normal or higher. Which was easy. Complete Ectospasm. The side story, complete Brawn Storm, did that. You are not first. Also, hi Eric. Hi. Nice to see you. Vibration sensation in last week in story mode during Fuzzy Feelings outro dialogue. Let Sakuroma's ringtone play all the way through. Okay, another one where we have to let things play. And then get every achievement, obviously. Okay. Buttress Seductress. Okay, yeah, we did do them on any difficulty. A hell of a boss, haha. Yep, we did do hell. Again, the art for the achievements is also really nice. Complete last week in story mode on normal or higher. Flexually active. Mompons, yep, did that. On hard difficulty or higher, I did. Okay, there's one I'm missing, the no-no filter. Play Heartache with the suggestive content filter enabled. Okay, I have to figure out how to turn that back on because I have it set up so it doesn't show up anymore. Dream Shaker, which we did for Witness the Second Form reveal. Professional Streaker, easy getting to 200 combo. You thought you'd get to see her second phase early, nice try. I did get rejected. Fun size Sakuroma. Sensory Overload, that's another one that I don't have. In Heartache, spent over 75% of the song with Saku's pheromone effect visible. Okay. That's gonna be another one that's a bit harder. Intentionally hitting the mines. Erect Erotica. On any difficulty, yep, did that. Potion Smeller. Remain dazed from Isurius' potion notes for at least 10 seconds straight. Okay, again, I'm missing the achievements that require me to hit the mines more. I see how it is. Raven. Friday's week in story mode on hard difficulty or higher, which I did. Avoid all potion notes and complete the song. I'm just that good. Cocky Wingman. Yeah, side stories. Again, side stories for Plague Doctorate. Okay, biggest packs. Unlock every achievement. Okay, yeah, I'm working on it. Paltry Poultry. Again, side story stuff. Hoot my own horn. Let Isurius win 5 times in a row. Okay, again, I would never have gotten these in a first playthrough. Go back and hit every note in the chart, including the bad ones, I guess so. Again though, come on, how would I ever have gotten this naturally? I don't die a lot in this game. Unless the song is super difficult, which hardly any of these songs are. Perfect form for the 200 combo. Cluck in Hell on Hell difficulty. And normal difficulty or higher. What's this? Hunger Pains and Cutlery. Hit at least 15 void notes throughout the song and survive to the end. Again, hitting mines. Okay. Yup, Hell difficulty, which I did. Avoid. Avoid all void notes, which that was successful. Finest diner, every achievement. Yup. Painted Blank. Cutlery Survivor near-death experience after hitting too many void notes close together and complete the song. What qualifies as a near-death experience after hitting too many void notes? Like what is the threshold for this? Jumpers on any difficulty. Side story stuff. 6 sick notes, yep, got that. 10% health or less, probably. But I also don't know how many of the void notes I'm supposed to hit for it. Hard or higher, normal or higher. Think about bullshit achievements. I would add if I could add them to Code Mix. Hey, you figured out how to do a gallery. Achievements are next, right? Again, hype. I noticed there's already teasers for Volume 2, which is insane. Very insane. Okay, the slash sing, the flash blinging, the stash cling, the cash flinging. Alright. Yup, the ultimate form reveal. BFF sim puzzle. Hit every Terry coin. Did I not do that? I think I did it in one of the remix versions, not the original. I guess I'll have to do that. Shame. Buzzkill. Complete greets weak in story mode on hard. Yep, did that. S rank or higher. Did that. Hell difficulty. Yup, easy enough. Any difficulty, and the 3 of them on any difficulty. What the fuck is a Terry coin? It's a special note. a special note that appears in the songs. Humblebee. Okay, normal or higher, which is basically... Normal or higher just means any difficulty, by the way. The term normal or higher could just be any difficulty, because normal is the lowest difficulty in this mod. Bee Sweeper, unlock every achievement in greed. Yep, working on it. Sax Evasion, avoid every jewel node, at least I was able to do that. In Deadfine, have at least 10 stacks of venom applied and completed. Again, poisoning myself intentionally. KB. On any difficulty, yep. Every achievement, that's gonna take a bit. Side story, any difficulty, side story, any difficulty. Hell difficulty. Full combo in Seasire, easy enough. Hard difficulty or higher, what am I missing? Avoid every soul node and complete the song, which I thought I've done before, but I guess not on the main version of the song. In free play, play Seasire or Makovet S. Sakuroma. This is actually impossible to get on a first story playthrough, because this is... I think this is the only one that is exclusive to free play so far. The first free play exclusive achievement. Okay, Lone Shark, normal or higher. Skip the dialogue during main story or side story while he's talking. Damn. AI ally. Yep. Side stories and difficult. Normal or higher. Didn't because he intentionally hit one of the bad. No, it's just a scout what the fuck he did. But there were alternate versions of the song as well, which I played. And I'm pretty sure I did at least one of them without hitting the special note. But again, I guess I have to play the original version of it, specifically. Robots don't make mistakes. Yep, hell difficulty with a perfect combo. In Lullaby, complete the song with over 100 misses. What are these achievements? Normal or higher, which I did. Unlock every achievement in the slot category, working on it. Hell. Any difficulty in side stories, hard difficulty or higher, right? So hit every electric note and complete the song. See, the electric notes are very forgiving as far as mines go. Hit every electric note, though. Okay, that's interesting. On any sloth song, win with a D rank or worse. The sloth achievements are all just perform badly. D rank or worse, over 100 misses, hit every mine. Like, sloth is really just play as poorly as you can. Do it. Achievement for dying in the first attempt of fuzzy feeling ever. Perfect achievement, isn't it? I got achievements for doing good and achievements for being the shittiest player known to Funkerkind. Yeah. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Go to sleep. Alright. Yup, did those on any difficulty and then we're to death. Of Nightflade as your companion. This says free play. I didn't play... Oh, actually, no, there was one free play song I did. Haha, I played on free play once. So this is an achievement I wouldn't have gotten. So technically, I only would have 165 trophies on the initial playthrough. So there is that. Neon! Neon, thank you for the raid! How's it going? Welcome in, welcome in. How is Limbus Company? Hope you had a lot of fun with Limbus Company. Ouch. Hope you're well, hope you're well. Okay, any difficulty? I'm currently looking through the achievements I already got. Without hitting a single scythe note, easy. Very easy. Oh, and for that it counts the alternate versions of the songs, I guess. Oh wow, there it is. Streamlabs being very slow today. Complete all the versions, got it. Harry throws it, yeah. Pizza toast. Should I? Maybe. Would that be hard to set up? Definitely. Finish the new permanent endgame mode. Full clear. You absolute legend. Happy to hear that. That's how it should be. You should always go for full completion. Okay, what am I missing here? Hourglass Fissure. Select no when offered a checkpoint. What? Do I have to die to get asked whether or not I want a checkpoint? I feel like I have to die to have that prompt show up, don't I? So again, another one that I would never have known about. So there I start making a bite. A new bite? Oh, that's gonna be very fun. The previous code mix bite was already fun. Settings for an achievement is really funny. I haven't yet. I'm looking at the achievements I got initially first, like from an initial playthrough of the mod. Probably in the memory lane part. That makes a lot of sense. Hospitable Hospital. Unlock every achievement in the death category. Alright. Witness the meeting with the 4 Infernal Lords. Again, 2 of them weren't named. Like, we only got the title drop for Death and War. But I'm 99% sure the other 2 were Pestilence and Famine. Scythe Strive, an extra parent. Hit at least 10 scythe notes and complete the song. Again, hitting mines. Any difficulty? Any difficulty? Have the entire strum line covered with light beams simultaneously. Interesting. I did it on any difficulty. Yep. Listen to Patience's pause menu music theme for at least 3 minutes straight. Patience is a virtue, but wow, some of these achievements really test your patience. And unlock every achievement for Providence Pro. Okay, what else do we have? Dad Battle Remix. Yep, we did that. Red Dead Redemption. Yep. Feeling Nice. Expurgation. We got Yuckers. Humble Beginnings. Soulmates. Power Outage. Like all the Mixter achievements here, essentially. Which is just clear the song for the first time. Yeah, all of these are just clear the song for the first time. Just gonna go through them anyway. Alright, almost at the end of them. Okay, what else do we have? Starting with any difficulty, then 2 more of those. When Patience achievements come after death achievements, despite external-wise Patience showed up first. It's weird, isn't it? Killed itself for Sloth achievement? I guess it did. think. Yes, we do have the think mark thing. Any difficulty. Unlock every achievement in the IPU/minus category. There we go. That's the first one I saw that is unlock every achievement in X category. First one I got of those, I think. Any difficulty. Back to just complete stuff on any difficulty, I guess. Beat corruption with 5 stacks of corruption applied. Well, there we go. There's a new one. One that required me to do badly, but still succeed, and one that I actually managed to get. Normal or higher. Any difficulty. On hell difficulty. Again, why does it sometimes say normal or higher? It can just say on any difficulty in that case. Because normal or higher means any difficulty. Okay, what am I missing? Unlock every achievement in the Corruptro category. Okay. So I guess I'm missing Crystal Clear. Beat Corruptro without hitting a single corruption node. I might have to do that on normal to be able to pull that off. It's just any difficulty. Every achievement in the Ace category. Complete the song after getting frozen 5 times or more. Okay. Any difficulty. And complete spell. What else? Complete without hitting any ice notes. Okay. No on any difficulty. Complete at least 5 side stories. Complete the remixes. Any difficulty, any difficulty. Any difficulty, any difficulty. So much of it is just complete song, complete X song on any difficulty. Yeah, I know I'm close, but still. What do you expect? Interact with a locked element. Okay. So I can't do it on the achievement. I have to find something else that is locked. Interesting. Unlock every achievement in the miscellaneous category. Complete Felipe on the kaleidostrophic difficulty. Yes. And unlock the song. Hit every special note at least once. I'm glad I did that in my first attempt, not first attempt, but in my initial attempts at it. Have Felipe... He can crash your game? Mix the side stories on Manifest Remix. Exhaust all dialogue of a certain step. Didn't I already do that? I have to... Do I have to go back in after exhausting the dialogue? Because I already have the check mark. I have the check mark on it. He should be out of dialogue. I guess I have to go back in after getting the check mark. Huh. So, die on baby girl difficulty. Oh boy. Complete miles in any difficulty. And it was a virus. You must unlock this trophy to read its description. I guess that's the one in the alternate thingy. What if I unlock with you? Oh, unlockables! There we go. There's also still stuff missing here. Sakuroma GF. Ah, okay. Great girlfriend. Raph girlfriend. RetroSpecter girlfriend. Hive mind girlfriend. Gluttony. Envy. Dozerg, Sloth, Pride Girlfriend Legacy, Legacy, all the Legacy stuff, huh? Okay. Again, I'm trying to interact with the locked elements, but I can't. How do I get the achievement for interacting with a locked element? Like, clicking on them does nothing, pressing enter or space does nothing. Oh well. So apparently there's something in the options, right? Options. Had a feeling it was a virus. You've gone incognito. Of a locked song, but I have no more locked songs. I already unlocked all the locked songs, so does that mean the achievement is now unobtainable? Because that would be bullshit. Okay, where exactly is the lore? Gallery and archives, maybe? The archives, that seems promising. Yep. Oh. Yeah, there's a bit of lore. Everyone, buckle up, buckle in, strap yourself in, we're gonna be here for a bit. The lore! Actually, no, Viking, that's wrong, because the achievement says get rejected, and then in brackets, or accepted at the door. So yes, even if you do it last, you should still get in there. RetroSpecter is a reptilian hybrid demon and the Infernaling of Wrath. He is 8'3", 2.5 meters, and weighs 388 pounds, which is 176 kilograms. He has white hair that goes down his head and connects to his white neck fluff on his shoulders. He has green nails on his hands, feet, and tail that secrete a tiny amount of acid. This acid can seep into cuts and prevent them from healing for months. Retro wears a special set of custom clothes that he commissioned from the Infernaling of Pride, Azurius. The outfit consists of blue-black pants, a blue hoodie, a white t-shirt with the letter R on the front representing the first letter of his alias. He has green eyes, black cheek markings, and a white stripe that goes all the way around his snout. He also has a white underbelly with a black outline going from the end of his tail all the way up to his chin. Well, we don't need the description of his visuals, we can see that. But again, the Azurius name drop is nice. Of course you don't have that one unlocked. Interesting. Okay. Retro is in his early 30s, demon years, and generally prefers to be alone. He is the youngest Infernaling out of the 7 and is considered to be the most hot-headed and immature of them all. He has learned to control his temper better thanks to his friends and co-workers, but depending on the situation, that anger can still flare up from time to time. Retro comes from a unique reptilian demon family of high nobility that he no longer wants to be a part of due to personal issues with his father. His father is none other than War, one of the 4 Infernal Lords that helped run and control the Infernal Lands. This puts a lot of pressure on Retro, as this isn't a life that he wants to live, or would rather entertain people for living through creative mediums such as music, art, and streaming. RetroSpecter isn't Retro's real name, but rather an alias he gave himself to be recognized online by like-minded individuals. Ah, yes. It's definitely something I would say. Yeah, we're making things quick here. A short while ago, Retro was given a very unique job position by his father, one that he unfortunately couldn't refuse. His job was to keep track of who enters and exits the entrance to the Infernal Lands. He figured it wouldn't be too hard and could use the extra cash, plus a position like the Infernaling of Wrath would pay extremely well for his hobbies he hoped to turn into a career one day. The job was pretty straightforward. If the demon was on the list, let them in. If they weren't, send them away. If they tried to argue or fight back, however, he would have to use his other forms to deal with them promptly. Retro had job experience with this type of stuff, so he reluctantly accepted the offer. He was forced to wear a special type of magical armor commissioned by his father. This armor would also expand whenever Retro transforms into his second form. However, the armor was uncomfortable and annoyed Retro, so he eventually stopped wearing it to work. He only quickly puts it on when his dad comes to perform an inspection on the Wrath ramparts. Damn! Okay, the Wrath ramparts are a gigantic, sprawling wall surrounding the Infernal Lands that stretch on forever. There is no way to walk around this wall, as demonic magic will eventually loop you back to where you started. Inferns are lined up 500 feet apart from one another across the entire wall. They are on constant watch for anything out of the ordinary or attempted break-ins. If something troubling is spotted, a horn will sound, which will travel to the main gates faster than a speeding bullet due to excellent coordination. When the sound reaches the main gates, Wrath is notified and immediately teleports to where the issue was reported to handle it. However, he only has this power on duty, as it is the Infernal Lords granting him this power through magic crystals near the gates. Wrath will either fight off the intruders or order them to head to the gate entrance so he can lock them in. When things are slow at the gates, he goes on patrol and wanders the outskirts of the Wrath ramparts, usually with his assistant, Velasma, scouting ahead of him. His pet cat, Biles, will also accommodate them from time to time. They look around for any anomalies or something unusual. If they find anything, they report it to the Infernal Lords. Most of the time, however, it's nothing unusual, just endless amounts of rocky spires and green crystals. RetroSpecter also checks the gate entrance from time to time to make sure there is no structural damage. If there is any, he reports this to the RAF Ramparts architect, Serpent Scheme. Off hours, he'll sometimes hang out with Elasma and Serpent Scheme for a bit, but since he considers them more acquaintances than friends, he is usually alone most of the time. He doesn't mind it, but sometimes he does wish he had more friends to be around. He worries that due to his intimidating and grumpy-looking nature, people avoid talking to him. Wow. That was a long one. Also, that explains the armor in the loading screen art. Thanks for the hydrate. Now we know where the armor comes from and why he's not wearing it ever. Okay, next one. Berserker RetroSpecter, Zerktro, is Retro's second form. He is 12 foot Lin. What? What is that? What is the Lin part of this? What? Am I stupid? 3.7 meters and weighs 1,388 pounds, 630 kilograms. In this form, Zerktro begins forming bright green crystals all over his body. These crystals can be used to attack, but are also solid enough to act like armor in some scenarios. They also glow in the dark. The hair on his head and neck grow even longer, all the way down to his back. His tail also extends a lot more and is much heavier, which can be used as a blunt weapon for crushing. His clothes don't rip off in this form due to them being magically enchanted by Azurius. However, Zerktro's arms and crystals have been growing larger recently, which causes some tattering around the sleeves and shoulders. Underneath Zerktro's clothes, he has the symbol of Wrath on his back, which is proof of his position as the Infernaling of Wrath. Like other symbols of the Infernalings, the symbol will vanish when that position is no longer run by them. Zerktro is mostly sentient, though signs of him losing control still happen from time to time. When he was younger, controlling this transformation was not something he could reliably do, and would often cause damage to things around him out of sheer anger. With training from his father over the years, he eventually learned to control it and can now use it for various duties. While it can be used for combat, it's usually used to intimidate or scare any demon outcast that isn't allowed access to the RAF Ramparts. With enough experience, all Retro has to do is look down, focus, slam the ground with his tail claw and roar. This will cause an instant transformation that throws any unsuspecting viewer off guard. It does create environmental damage, however, so it needs to be performed on very stable ground. Zerktro also has the ability to spit a bright green acid that melts through skin and flesh, all the way down to the bone. He's capable of doing this for a long time, but if he does it for too long, he needs to drink something to replenish his dry throat. This acid can also melt through materials, such as the rocks outside of the Infernal Lands. Zerktro has made his own hidey hole not too far away from the RAF Ramparts when he wants to slack off on a slow day. Interestingly, the acid is also known to reveal glyphs and images outside the ramparts. Infern archaeologists will sometimes ask Zerktro to spit acid in certain spots to wipe away the residue, leaving various images and pictures from a different ancient time. Zerktro can easily control whether his saliva is acidic or not, as well as the potency and corrosiveness of it. Once Retro has transformed into Zerktro, it can take hours for him to transform back. This is not something he can train for, and is just one of the unfortunate side effects of changing forms. The black zigzag markings on his tail have a pattern that resembles a lifeline. Gabe, hello! Thanks for the raid! Hope you enjoyed your racing adventures. How is it going? Hope you're well off. Welcome to a lot of reading. We like lore over here. But yeah, if you got a raid and run, as always, it's understandable. If not, feel free to lurk as I keep reading on and on. Once the zigzag pattern starts to smooth out, it's a sign that he's going to revert back to his base form. This is a useful indicator for Zerktro, as he can look at his own tail and figure out how much time he has left before he reverts back to his original form. The time he has for his form can be completely random, though depending on his thoughts and emotions, can last much longer than average. Zergtro also has the option to transform into further phases, which completely reset this timer. This is much harder and difficult to accomplish though, as he is still learning to transform further past Zergtro. When he was younger, Retro used to be a bouncer for the fuzzy feeling, using Zergtro in a similar way that he does at the RAF Ramparts. This was also thanks to nepotism from his father's side. He was tasked with guarding the Infernaling of Lust so he could prove to the Infernalords that he is also capable of becoming the Infernaling of Wrath. Zergtro did well for a while, until he ended up accidentally killing one of the more drunk, rowdy patrons harassing his boss, not realizing his own strength. This patron ended up being an ex-Infernaling that hated the changes slowly being made to the Infernalands throughout its history. And their re-death ended up being a happy accident for the Infernalords. However, this still caused Retro's father to be extremely disappointed, and his position as a bouncer was forcefully removed. This event would then go to replace every guard in the Lustlands with automated sentinels, using robot parts recovered from the comatose catacombs. The other Infernalords were satisfied enough with Zergtro's accident, however, so they allowed him a chance to become the new Infernaling of Wrath. There we go. Slippery but fun? Happy to hear you had fun. Definitely. Not much gameplay action here in terms of fun. Again, mostly just reading. But reading can be fun. Because, you know, lore. So much lore. Oh boy, here we go. Apocalypse RetroSpecter. Apoctro is a massive reptilian hybrid demon and RetroSpecter's third form. He has a height of, again with the Lin thingy, 26 foot, which is 7.95 meters, and weighs 5,388 pounds, which is 2,444 kilograms. His stance resembles that of a gorilla, and can sprint up to 200 miles per hour, which is 321 kilometers per hour, on all fours. Apoctro has even more green crystals growing on his face and arms than Zergtro, and the crystals have also spread to parts of his tail/tail claw. He also has enormous shackles on his wrists and ankles, and a giant iron chain necklace with a keyhole in the center. The magic clothes he wears for Zergtro are completely gone, save for his pants that are completely tattered. Apoctro also has skulls on his shoulders that can be used to ram into victims, severely impaling them or even cutting them in half. The skulls also have candles inside of them with cyan flames on their wicks that never burn out. Wow. Hi Bones, thanks for the pats. Lots of reading today, hope you don't mind. Unlike Zergtro, Apoctro is mostly non-sentient and acts on pure instinct. He can still listen to orders from the Infernalords and speak normally, but only on rare occasions. Apoctro's roar can shatter entire rocks and even cause tectonic shifts due to the extremely loud frequencies they have. These roars sound very similar to his Berserker form, but due to his larger size and stronger vocals, they are used to both attack and defend. This form is generally used to drive away unwelcome intruders that refuse to leave the RAF Ramparts. This form was also used once on a fairly large group of demons that were rejected from the Infernalands, called the Inforsaken. Lore dropped. Retro tried to warn them, but as they got closer and closer, he transformed into Apoctro. The Inforsaken were unnerved and kept charging forward. Apoctro roared so loudly that it caused every demon's head in front of him within a half-mile radius to explode. Well, ain't that something? Thanks for the next hydrate, get the watering cans, yes. And thanks for the lurk and hello Tormuse. Alright, the skulls on Apoctro's shoulders are a bit of a mystery. One theory is that they are the skulls of a previous RAF Infernaling, a three-headed dog that used to guard the gates of the Infernalands. Oh no! They killed Cerberus! Another is that these are the bones from Retro's shoulders that have been exposed through the skin and coincidentally resemble dragon skulls due to Retro's anatomy. The most plausible theory, however, is that these skulls are being locked behind another form that Retro has, and grow into something more when Apoctro transforms even further. Some even speculate that these are skulls placed from the Infernalord of War himself, fitted onto Retro as a reminder of what will happen to any Inforsaken that refuse Apoctro's final warnings. Some have even reported seeing the skulls animate on Apoctro's shoulders, usually giving a smile or twitching for a quick period of time. Whew. The shackles and lock chain necklace keep Apoctro from going so feral that he loses all sentience and begins attacking his fellow Raph Inferns. There are only two ways for these chains to come off. A key that is owned by the Infernal Lord of War, used to unlock the necklace, and the other is the extremely intense cyan magma in the caverns below the Raph ramparts. This magma is a magical superheated liquid which gives it its bright cyan appearance. This magma can melt through nearly anyone and anything. And if it wasn't for the special rocks that contain it, it could cause a massive eruption and flow into the Infernal Lands. Because of this, constant surveillance of the caverns underneath the Raph ramparts is required, and Inferns are properly making sure the flow is stable. It also acts as a geothermal fuel source to operate the massive wall around the Infernal Lands. Apoctro has a pair of eyes and has an extra pair of eyes and a stronger nose that can pick up specific scents from miles away. Combining these two along with Apoctro's incredible speed allows him to travel across the Raph ramparts in a matter of minutes to handle any situation. While this form is generally used for Raph's duties, Retro has been known to use it irresponsibly, such as impressing demons in the Lustlands or trampling through the city streets when he's bored. This infuriates his father War, as he sets a bad example for the other Inferns and Infernalings. This also makes him look bad as an Infernal Lord for hiring his son to be in the Raph position. Retro is aware of this and still does it regardless, because he knows War needs him due to his family's lineage. However, War has more control over his children than Retro thinks. So when he drowned after song 3, he could transform even further because the chain was broken, yeah. Alright, Catastro. God. Catastrophe Retrospecter, Catastro, is a Hydra demon with 3 heads in Retrospector's final phase. He has no official height or weight, as he can shrink and grow to nearly any size he desires, with his necks capable of stretching out even higher. Catastro is different shades of teal and black instead of the usual cyan hue Retro has. His crystals are now a vibrant cyan instead of the green crystals found on Zergtro and Apoctro. These crystals have spread to most of Catastro's arms, as well as his claws and horn tips. Catastro also has a special type of magical green hellfire that surrounds all 3 of his heads. This fire never goes out and can instantly disintegrate any demon that tries to touch it. 2 of Catastro's heads wear dark skulls for protection against this fire, while the center head has become immune to it over the years. All of this is the result of being submerged into the cyan magma deep below the Raph ramparts. Unlike Apoctro, Catastro is nearly as sentient as Retro/Zergtro, capable of speaking in complete sentences. This is due to achieving his Infernite or final form. Something many Infernalings are capable of, but are magically sealed by the Infernal Lords. This is due to an unstable shift of the environment and anomalies that it can cause in the Infernal Lands. Even so, many Infernalings have not even reached their 3rd form. So an Infernite form is extremely rare and uncommon. These final forms are only used in dire emergencies, such as a massive raid on the Raph ramparts that not even Retro's 3rd phase can handle. An Infernite form must be discussed by the 4 Infernal Lords and approved by the 5th Infernal Lord, the Infernal Lord Queen. Failure to ignore this rule will allow the Infernaling transformation may result in severe punishment for even an Infernal Lord themselves. And yet Retro did it! Catastro has also been vetted a few times by the Infernal Lords to move mountains and hills around to confuse outside raiders from finding the Infernal Lands after attacking. He transforms far outside the city walls, where little to no demon can see him, so he can perform these duties. This form can be extremely unpredictable and dangerous, however. One time, Catastro lost control and ran through the city gate entrance right to the Lust Lands. He began destroying buildings and breathing fire everywhere, killing thousands of demons. Unsure of what was causing this, the Infernal Lord Queen herself had to get involved, which she rarely does. She flew over the city with her magic reset the world to right before Catastro began rampaging. She then teleported Catastro miles away until he calmed down. This infuriated the Queen and summoned War to a meeting to threaten him out of his job if he can't control his own child. Yikes. Sucks to be War. As powerful as Catastro is, he is not without his flaws. He acts completely different from Retro and talks to himself a lot in the middle of performing actions. This is due to the internal struggle he can have with his other two heads, sometimes preventing him from making certain decisions. The other heads are slightly different, with one having its tongue sticking out and a crack in its skull. These heads do not always agree with each other, and it's up to the center head to keep them in their place. When they do all cooperate, it is extremely dangerous for anyone with a 25-mile radius. All three of them can spray hellfire simultaneously, engulfing city districts in hellfire that doesn't go out until Catastro reverts back to his original form. Catastro can stay in this form for as long as he likes, until one of the heads decides they no longer want to be Catastro. Any head can decide that, interesting. Other demons in Infernadice can also have slightly different forms and transformations, but what sets the Infernalings and Infernal Lords apart from Infs and Inferns is the fact that they can also fuse with one another. How these fusions are direct demands from the Infernal Lords rather than something like a mutual bond. For example, the Infernal Lord of Death could order the Infernaling of Lust to fuse with her, creating a form that could attract demons to them and slay them. These fusions also have phases, but can get rather complex. Greed can combine with pride, envy can combine with pestilence, etc. Due to the neutral relationship Infernal Lands and Providice have with each other, the Infernal Lord Queen and Providiety King could even fuse with each other if they wanted. However, this has barely been done in all of Infernadice's history. Barely, which means it has been done, as it is too dangerous and can affect the natural balance of the world around them. Should the time arise, fusions and Infernite forms may be necessary to defend Infernadice, but that time hasn't happened yet. So wait, what if there's a fusion and the fusion reaches Infernite form? What would an Infernite form fusion be like? Wouldn't that be completely broken and insane? So, because the other two heads were struggling, I guess so. End of the world? It might be end of the world, Jesus. Like, that is just wow. Alright, Sakuroma. Sakuroma! The pink is a pink and white morph demon that represents the Infernaling of Lust. She is 38 years old, and her height is 9'6". Ah, it wasn't an L, it was a 1. It wasn't an L, it was a 1 for the inches. Or 2.9 meters. Oh indeed. Her current weight is unknown, as she has never publicly disclosed this information to anyone. Yet don't ask her for her weight. Rude. Sakuroma doesn't wear clothes since she has a habit of chewing on them, sometimes to the point of ingesting them entirely when she's stressed. She has neck flap with 2 ribbons that can act as whips and cut with extremely fast speeds. These ribbons also secrete a purple serum that, when injected, forces the victim to tell the truth for a brief period of time. Sakuroma can usually be seen on her tiptoes as a result of her being a ballerina dancer when she was little. Despite her size, she's very graceful and lightweight. With her her wings allow her to leap great distances. So she can't fly, she can only leap great distances, I see. She has horns and antennae on her head, which allow her to sense someone's emotions. she can read them easier. Her colorful wing patterns are used to attract people's eyes towards her. Sakuroma oversees the Lustlands, the largest metropolis in the Infernal Lands, and where most businesses/services are conducted. Spotlights and tall buildings can be seen in the distance, no matter which biome you're in. And it's considered to be the most inviting and welcoming area in Infernadise. This only applies to a large radius within the center of the city, however, as once you start reaching its outskirts, certain areas become darker and infested with other biomes. For example, the slums of Greed's biome bleed into the Lustlands, creating a fairly large hybrid sub-biome that has constant burglaries and assaults. In the Infernal Lands, these types of activities happen often as there is no real law enforcement, besides security inferns that guard the Lustlands' most precious zones. One of these precious zones is the Lusty Gardens, a giant park filled with vegetation where demons can walk, eat, and sleep together in public. Ah, how nice. Gee, I wonder why. I mean, there are certain businesses that you can... I mean, the best businesses are right here, aren't they? Another of these highly guarded areas is the Fuzzy Feeling, an enormous tower that acts as a brothel, hotel, bar, nightclub, and other various features all in one. Many exclusive enchanted beverages from Pride are only served here at the bar. This building is directly owned and run by Sakuroma, and is the largest building in Infernadise. She has an assistant demon robot named Ino13 that helps maintain the building by constantly cleaning it 24/7. Many demons stream to one day visit the Fuzzy Feeling, as it houses the most beautiful demons in the entire realm. It's been reported that a single night at the Fuzzy Feeling will change your life forever. If you are even lucky enough to bed with Sakuroma herself, though there are hundreds of papers and waivers to sign, and an incredibly long multiple-year wait. Sakuroma is also very picky about who she sleeps with, and if she has a bad experience, will ban that patron from her establishment for life. Yikes. You think I know all my vaults by heart, Blake? I don't know them all by heart, I'm sorry. But yeah, again, Pride. Isurius is definitely providing people, isn't he? Clothing, the special potions and beverages. He knows what he's up to. Okay, during one of her special services, the patron showed up as normal, nervous and excited as one would expect to be before sleeping with who is considered the most beautiful demon in all of Infernadise. As Sakurama was getting ready in the bathroom, she heard a strange noise coming from the bedroom. When she walked in, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Ready to begin, she lied on the bed and began teasing the patron, only for the patron to not be moving whatsoever. With his eyes closed, she assumed he was so nervous that he was paralyzed in fear. So she decided to climb on top of him. Before she could advance, the patron's eyes burst open and began choking Sakuroma. Sakuroma, shocked and surprised, struggled against the patron's strength. Eventually, she stabbed him in the side with one of her ribbons, causing the patron to let go. Before she could retaliate, the patron jumped out of the upper tower window and splattered onto the pavement before dissolving into a green sludge and disappearing. Envy! You already know exactly who was pulling the strings here. You know exactly who this was. Sakuroma, after recovering from the events, immediately realized who that patron was being controlled by. Yup. The green eyes made it too obvious, and she immediately went to Atrocian to confront him. Atrocian played dumb while being extremely flirty towards Sakuroma. He probably enjoyed that Sakuroma came to confront him. Sakuroma threatened to report his behavior to the Infernal Lords, to which Atrocian laughed and dared her to do so. After about a week, she was finally able to get a meeting with the 4 Infernal Lords. She tried to explain what happened, but the Infernal Lords didn't believe her story, as she had no proof. The Infernal Lords also have a bit of a negative bias towards Sakuroma due to the amount of funds she's taken from the Infernal Lands to pay for her investments, and reminded her that she's only an Infernal Lord because of her mother. Nature arranged an agreement with them. Since then, Sakuroma has had an enormous hatred for Atrocian and vows to ramp up her security as best she can, so an event like that never happens again. Wow. Alright, Breakeroma. Heartbreaker Sakuroma, Braku, is one of Sakuroma's second forms. So she has multiple second forms as well. She can control the size of her body, but on average it's 11 foot 1 inch, 3.4 meters. She now has 4 ribbons instead of 2 that come out of her neck fluff and can grow much longer / sharper. These ribbons contain an even more potent serum that can make the victim fall asleep and experience different types of visions. Braku doesn't wear any clothes, but now has a hard shell on her 4 arms and legs that can be used to attack and defend herself. She has a long magical cigarette that creates spores in the area around her. These spores, when breathed in, cause the victim to become very dazed and experience realistic hallucinations that convince even the most skeptical demon. She also wears a choker and can use her heels to stab the victim with incredible leg strength. So she's naked. Isn't she always? Again, we read that in the Sakuroma lore tab as well. She doesn't like wearing clothes because she ends up eating them most of the time anyway. Give her clothes, she will eat them instead of wear them. In this form, Braku also has a shadow version. This form, while almost being identical to her non-shadow form, is used to hide in darker places to lure unsuspecting prey. Braku hopes to retire soon because she's sick of the business life and wants to settle down with a suitor she deems worthy. However, it's taken her a long time to find the one for her, as most suitors don't last nearly as long as they claim they can. This both disappoints and annoys Braku, so she usually sucks the life out of them to maintain her beauty before moving on to the next overconfident victim. While she has considered some of her co-workers based on previous experience with them, the Infernal Lords prohibit relationships among employees within the Infernal Lands, while the Infernal Lands lack rules for most of the Inf's demon residents, the Infernalings have slightly more strict sets of rules they must follow, or they will be stripped of their rank. Because I'm going to do so much bullshit when they can discover her being naked all the time is canon. I mean, why wouldn't it be canon for her, though? Let's face it. Unlike RetroSpecter's second phase, where he retains most of his sentience and is generally the same but angrier, Heartbreaker Sakuroma almost acts like a completely different character entirely. She gets very easily jealous and petty, and won't stop until she gets what she wants. She's also been known to talk to Sakuroma inside her mind and argue with her. This is because Braku is actually an alternate form of Sakuroma's second phase. Sakuroma's original second phase is very different, and her personality is much kinder and sweeter. I want to see that Sakuroma! I want to see that second phase! I would actually prefer that over Breakeroma. Please give me the kind and sweet lust. Almost that of a caring mother. Heartbreaker Sakuroma, however, is formed from dark thoughts, emotions, and ancient demon magic, completely overtaking Sakuroma's good form. When she is doubtful of herself, the Infernal Lords know of this form, and while dark magic is considered forbidden, they are aware of the risk when hiring Sakuroma. To say I'm just kind of zoning out, which is totally fair. I understand. I mean, it is just a lot of lore. I mean, hey, nothing wrong with having like a bunch of lore reading on in the background to zone out to. Is it confirmed? Sakura was always naked. Well, it's confirmed now, thankfully. That's such a good thing to know. Sakuroma learned of this form by accident when her and Hivemine stumbled upon a book together when they were younger. Decades ago in Providence, Mother Nature tasked her 3 children to recite some books from Kindness's library for them. They traveled together, talking and teasing one another as they always do. When they arrived, they started searching for the books their mother requested. The archive was enormous and contained many unmarked books that the librarian hadn't had time to record yet. At the far end of the enormous library, Sakuroma found one of the books her mother requested. When she grabbed it, she noticed a book light up next to it. this book didn't look like the other books inside the archive, Sakuroma stared at it before calling Hive Mind and Chastity over. Interesting that Chastity is just referred to by the... like, again, Sakuroma and Hive Mind are referred to by name, Chastity is referred to by the title rather than name, unless Chastity is both her name and title. What do I know? After being shushed by the librarian, the three girls went to a table and to start reading it. As Sakuroma murmured the words inside the book, she felt her body begin to feel different. Is she dead? I don't know, I would feel like the 7 virtues are still around. I don't think there's been any lore drops about one of the 7 virtues disappearing. Ever heard of Chastity? Well, it is one of the 7 virtues, and Chastity was mentioned in the story. Chastity was mentioned in one of the side stories, I think, specifically. Sakuroma brought her up when, I think it was the Sakuroma and Patience song, where Chastity was brought up. The third sister immediately felt uncomfortable and ran outside the library to her mother. Hive Mind stood there worried for her sister and grabbed her shoulder, begging her to leave. Sakuroma couldn't hear her though, and she continued murmuring the words inside the book. A massive shadow began forming and loomed over Sakuroma and Hive Mind. Saku was slowly becoming possessed by something inside the book. Hive Mind, struggling to stay close to Saku, finally slammed the book shut and yelled at her, removing anything that happened around them both. This noise caused the librarian to furiously kick them out. They shamefully returned back home to nature, with nothing to show but a magic demon book that would horrify nature as soon as she saw it in Sakuroma's hands. After Chastity explained what happened, nature knew what she had to do, and that she had no other choice. Ooh, interesting. Separated from Saku and Hive Mind. Yeah, because again, Chastity would be up in Providice. Chastity would be up in Providice. Because she's one of the virtues, not one of the sins. Azurius! Let's go! Azurius is a black and grey avian demon that represents the infernaling of pride. He is 43 years old, with a height of 7 foot 4 inches, 2.2 meters, and weighs 182 pounds, which is 82.5 kilograms. Prideful bird bitch! We love bird bitch! He wears a hoodie and black robes adorned with various potions and belts that wrap around him. Azurius wears an augmented mask and glass goggles to protect his face from the chemicals he uses when mixing potions. While the goggles can be removed, his mask is permanently attached to his face due to an incident that happened when he was younger that melted off most of his beak. Azurius also has extremely long eyebrows that he keeps properly maintained in the rare times he's not working. He wields a staff with an hourglass at the top that he uses to time himself while performing certain experiments. Underneath his clothes he has multiple tail feathers and a large insignia of the pride symbol on his chest. You think? Interesting. Alright, Azurius has one of the most demanding and taxing jobs of any of the Infernal Lords. He is a scholar, alchemist, and tailor all in one. His job is to mix alchemical ingredients together to create magical potions that have a variety of different effects. If the new spell effects are vetted by the Infernal Lords, he creates different articles of clothing and enchants them with these spells. These magical potions and clothes are then shipped throughout different areas of the Infernal Lands for a profit. Spells range from invisibility to illusory hallucinatory effects, to temporary enhanced strength. Spells can mix together for hybrid potions, and there are different levels of potions for every preference out there to fit each demon's desires. There are also prohibited dark spells that the Infernal Lords deny and prevent any from being further manufactured or shipped. As tempted as Azurius has been in the past, he has remained loyal to the Infernal Lords and not practiced any spells or dark magics hidden deep within the tower's floors. The tower is known as the Prior Spire, a massive black tower that shoots out in the sky far away from the center of Infernalize. The prior spire, sometimes called the Pride Spire, was one of the very first towers built in the Infernal Lands. When the Infernal Lands were formed eons ago by an ancient demon race, they built the spire to archive their history, findings, and records. As this race faded away, the few remaining sealed off in the spire so that no one could access its hidden secrets. But one day, a new Infernal Urn was powerful enough to open it, and what they saw inside convinced them that the demons of this generation would not be able to handle the knowledge within. From that day forward, they would hire an Infernaling trustworthy enough to guard the spire and its secrets for centuries. In Azurius' case, he was born and raised with the sole intent to guard the prior spire for centuries to come. Also, hi, Limo HD. This is the RetroSpecter mod versus RetroSpecter. Playing through all the story content, both main and side stories, takes 23 hours. At least that's how long it took me. And today we're reading the lore that you unlock from completing the story, from completing all the content. Because I am very curious to learn more about these characters. But yeah, I hope you're well. Azurius is a workaholic and is always looking for things to do. He finds relaxing to be boring and feels that time is knowledge. He works almost 24/7 using a special type of magic coffee called Demon Calf to help him stay awake. Because of this, Azurius can get an immense amount of work done for his research and is therefore the second wealthiest Infernaling in the Infernal Lands, only just below Hivemine. He takes immense pride and satisfaction in his work and knows that he is the best of the best when it comes to taking his job seriously. Azurius hates slackers and can easily tell when someone isn't giving it their all. He'll taunt his employees in a passive-aggressive manner, sometimes throwing potions at their feet to make them work harder. If the Infern employee doesn't improve, he exiles them from the prior spire, leaving them to fend for themselves in the cold black desert at the base of the spire. Gee, I wonder, with all the stuff he sells, yeah, you gotta wonder why. Azurius does not usually get along with his co-workers, as he finds most of them to be annoying or not worth his time. As he is mostly business and constantly working, he is fairly reclusive. He does talk to Hivemine sometimes, however, where he discusses business strategies with her. Azurius will also sometimes summon Insatian when she is free, who he can freely experiment on, since Insatian's stomach nullifies a lot of possible negative side effects his potions may have. He is closest to his assistant named Stitriol, that primarily assists him with his tailoring duties, but also helps him with the occasional potion brewing from time to time. He hates Stitriol's pet rat, however, and feels like it is a vermin that shouldn't be in his tower, as it might infect his potions with diseases. While Azurius does not really like Atrocian that much, he does agree with him about Retro's sudden promotion to Wrath and feels he doesn't deserve it. Well, hey, there is that. Okay, up next, Insatian. Insatian is a black and red goat demon that represents the Infernaling of Gluttony. Despite being an adult, her age is unknown, and her weight/height depend on a unique quirk Insatian has. On average, she is 6 foot 10 inches, which is 2.1 meters tall, and weighs 175 pounds, which is 79 kilograms. She has shackles around her neck, wrists, and ankles, as well as an external dark ribcage. This ribcage controls the bright red void on her stomach, which can expand or shrink depending on how hungry Insatian is. She has a third eye to allow her to hunt for prey easier, and a tail/razor-sharp claws used to impale the prey. Her mouth is full of magma-like substance that completely melts anything Insatian ingests. She has crimson-colored neck fluff that spreads across her shoulders at an almost flat angle to protect her body from wind and debris while she's sprinting on all fours. Her head is a skull made of extremely tough bone that can resist even the toughest of scratches or bites. Interesting. So she has an external skeleton. Is that what you're saying? Insatian has an in-between form/phase where she will grow larger and larger the hungrier she becomes. This doesn't really alter her appearance much at all, but will completely change her from being a sentient demon to a feral rampaging beast. If she reaches maximum hunger, she transforms into a different face, and the red void on her stomach gets so big that it creates a massive red void portal. This red void teleports the area it envelops to a completely different area in Infernadize, leaving a massive red spiral that never disappears. One of these large spirals can be seen from the sky of the Infernal Lands. To counteract this, Insatian wears shackles on all of her limbs that were commissioned by Azurius from one of the Infernal Lords. These enchanted shackles slow down the rate at which Insatian becomes hungry, but aren't a permanent solution to her issues, and some Inferns are researching how to fix her problems. Is she Sans? How do you come to that conclusion? Weird. Okay, the area Insatian works in is called the Veiled Voids. A massive deforested area filled with dead trees and rocks, along with a red misty fog that stretches endlessly. Red void portals with different sizes can be seen scattered all across the area, and due to the unstable nature of how they spawn and disappear, it is not recommended for demons to wander around the area. Insatian is there to make sure trespassers leave so they don't suffer a fate worse than death. A demon named Marcaris from the Greed realm went looking for animals to poach in the Veiled Woods, only to have their arms and legs nearly sucked into a red void portal. They barely escaped, but their limbs were completely mangled by the effects of the portal forever. Insatian is immune to these portals, as she is essentially a walking portal herself. Because of this, she can essentially void hop, or hop between two portals she knows the location to. She is also tasked with mapping these to see where they go and what they do. Interesting. Insatian hunts multiple creatures throughout the Veiled Woods so she can constantly satiate her never-ending hunger, but the species she actively seeks out are known as Crimstalkers. Crimstalkers are flying creatures that vary in size depending on their age. They keep Insatian relatively satisfied for days, and sometimes even weeks. She's gotten so used to the smell of Crimstalkers that she will ignore anything else around her until she tracks down any close by. Unfortunately, Crimstalkers are now endangered because of Insatian, and the Infernal Lords are worried about Insatian's hunger pangs once all of the Crimstalkers are gone. They've demanded her to stop tracking Crimstalkers specifically, so the species can try to reproduce again, but Insatian can't control herself, and goes completely feral. She screams as loud as she can to attract them, then screams even louder to stun them from fleeing. Despite Insatian's rough situation, she's a fairly carefree and laid-back Infernaling, and generally friendly to her co-workers. She'll stop by the Lost Lands for a good time, or visit the other Infernalings when she's bored. She considers Azurius, Sakuroma, and Retro good friends of hers, and tries to hang out with them in what little free time they have. She also gets a bit lonely/bored when everyone is busy though, so she'll void hop for fun. Recently, while void hopping, she noticed that a couple of the red void portals will turn white for a brief period of time. Before she can interact with it, however, it changes back to its original red color, and going through it leads to the same place she's already mapped. She wants to report this to the Infernal Lords, but either gets sidetracked or forgets, or is too nervous to approach the Infernal Lord that specializes in portals and teleportation, which would be the Infernal Lord of Death from what we've seen so far. Hive Mind. This is another one that will have 2 pages, right? Because she has an alternate form that we got to see. Alright, lore. Hive Mind is a queen-bee demon that represents the Infernaling of Greed. She's 42 years old with a height of 9 foot 10 inches, 3 meters. Her weight depends on how much treasure is inside of her dress, but when there is none, she is around 252 pounds, which is 140 kilograms. She's yellow and black with a large purple cage dress that keeps her favorite gems and treasures close to her at all times. This dress also contains her 3 most loyal bees, the BLTs, that organize the treasures inside her dress and respond to her as soon as they are called. She has 4 claws/pincers, which make it difficult for her to perform a lot of tasks that require writing or grabbing, but she makes it work and asks her bee servants for help when she needs it. She also has legs and an abdomen concealed underneath the dress that is constantly hidden in this form. BLTs. That's crazy. That's actually crazy. That's messed up. Hivemind runs the Hive Hinds, a massive corporation of skyscrapers that fly in the sky of the Infernal Lands realm. These flying fortresses oversee most of what goes on in the Infernal Lands, and are higher than Sakuroma and Azurius' towers. Hivemind is responsible for the Infernal Lands economy, and therefore controls the currency rate, stocks, and anything else financial related in the Infernal Lands. She's tasked to meet a yearly quota for the Infernal Lords, so they can make sure the Infernal Lands are stable, or as stable as hell can be. Hivemind can monitor just about any biome from the skies, and due to her constantly being in the air, she can move her facilities over to any other Infernalings biome in a matter of hours. When it's time to collect, her massive army of bees fly out and begin to collect from demons whose payments are overdue. Interesting. Underneath Hivemind's default base of operations are a location known as the Hive Mines. So Hivemind oversees the Hive Mines. Genius. An enormous, poor-ridden land with hundreds of thousands of sick, dying, and homeless demons. These demons work for Hivemind and help scavenge and mine the area for various gems and ores to pay off their debts. Besides Atrocian's Emulous Expanse, it is considered one of the worst areas to live in the Infernal Lands. Workers that have proved their loyalty to Hivemind by not slacking off get to instead operate the machinery at the base of Hivemind's flying buildings to keep them maintained and constantly active. In the floors above, these are mostly operated by millions of drones and worker bees that serve Hivemind directly, acting as surveillance and other types of employees and producing honey. Overdue in a good while, actually. Remember when Overdue was absolute shit? I heard that it was shit initially. I'm glad they improved it a lot. Okay. Hivemind considers her actions justified, as all of these demons are demons for a reason, and feels very little to no remorse for how she treats them. Like Sakuroma, Hivemind came to Providice because of their mother, Nature, so she has a slight disdain towards demons. She doesn't consider herself a monster though, and will sometimes fly down to the slums offering honey tea to the workers to quench their thirst. Hivemind is a very strict but responsible business lady, and simply wants to succeed in life, while also growing her business and savings. The Infernal Lords are very pleased with her success after having their doubts that an ex-angel sent by a Provenite could help them recoup the Infernal Land's financial struggles. Hivemind especially hopes that Nature above everyone else is most proud of her, and that she's proven Chastity, her other sister, wrong with her massive success. Hivemind is not without her own struggles, however. Her sister Sakuroma is constantly expanding the Lust Lands, the massive metropolis that is at the heart of the Infernal Lands. Because of this, Sakuroma is in massive debt almost every year. The Infernal Lords, while usually patient with Hivemind, have begun to notice this and question Hivemind if her foster sister is worthy of the position. Hivemind knows how much Sakuroma's position means to her, and due to the pact they formed when they were young, she tries her best to protect her. She tries to be patient with Sakuroma as they are both family, but knows that business is business at the end of the day and tries to collect from Sakuroma when she can. Hivemind knows how fussy Sakuroma can get, as well if she isn't careful, so she's been practicing some techniques to alleviate her sister's debt. One of these is a different form that is used in the darkness when nobody is looking. You know, all of a sudden I see Hivemind in a better light. Like, constantly she's just been portrayed as this, oh, she constantly collects debts from everyone. Like, even Sakuroma is, when Sakuroma talked about Hivemind, it constantly made Hivemind seem very, very bad. But looking at this lore, how Hivemind is actually trying to help Sakuroma, but has to collect the money no matter what, it's just... Yeah, I all of a sudden see her very differently. Ain't that fascinating? Alright, on to Hiveless. Hiveless is Hivemind's alternate form, and is the same height as Hivemore. Hivemore? She is lighter, however, due to this form no longer having a dress folk with gems. Alright, Hivemore is Hivemind's main form. Hive Mind's main form is called Hive More, I get it. Not only having a dress filled with gems. At a weight of 199 pounds or 90 kilograms. Hiveless no longer has any yellow on her, and is replaced with various different shades of purple to hide better in the dark. Her bottom pair of claws have been replaced with human-like hands, so she can snatch things quickly without having to worry about fumbling the treasure she's after. Her horns, pincers, and boots are covered in a white, sticky, web-like pattern. Hiveless' abdomen sticks out a lot more in this form, featuring a massive stinger with purple stripes underneath. Similar to Hive More, she still has wings, but due to her smaller body, she can fly even faster than before. The only thing visible on Hiveless in the darkness is the faint sparkle of her wings and neck fluff, followed by the glows of her eyes. Interesting. Hiveless is much more hyperactive than Hive More. While Hive More is generally considered calm and collected, Hiveless is rash, impatient, and even irritable. This is due to the nature of her form, as it is not a second phase, but rather a different version of Hive Mind entirely, just like with Sakuroma. Hive Mind uses this form to threaten intruders or debtors that visit her fortress and don't give her what she wants. She will trigger a lockdown protocol that shuts off the lights and barricades the facility, then transforms into Hiveless to intimidate or threaten the victim. If the victim still doesn't budge, she resorts to pricking them with her massive stinger, causing the victim to slowly foam at the mouth and freeze up. This effect can last for years, and if she's very impatient, can completely impale the victim with her claws instead, causing an almost instant death. Hiveless uses her web-covered boots to stomp and kick demons that disobey her. These boots allow Hiveless to gracefully jump and sprint across rooftops in the infernal lands below the Hive Mind, allowing her to perform multiple heists per night. They are also capable of rapid kicks and are layered with an extremely durable shell for defense. Her antennae also act as a sonar for her to listen to the surroundings and determine the best path to choose to remain undetected. Since Hiveless no longer has her dress to stash gems, she can carry as much as she can't carry as much and has to make frequent trips back to her fortress. However, she can hold a decent amount of gems in her neck fluff, which causes the purple glint and sparkles that can be seen if you get close enough to her. He also uses a swarm of shadow bees for larger heists with heavier cargo she can't lift herself. Interesting. Yeah, apparently years. Like, that is insane. Foaming at the mouth for years on end? Ugh. Not a lot of demons know about Hive Mind's alternate form, including most of the Infernalings and Infernal Lords. This is because Hive Mind uses this form outside of the fortress very sparingly. When she does, it's usually only when the skies get dark and no one can detect her. Hive Mind uses this form to break into various buildings around the Infernal Lands to steal valuable items and objects, so she can meet her monthly quota for the Infernal Lords, if too many people still owe her for that month. While no one knows that Hiveless is Hive Mind directly, there are reports of a shadowy figure roaming the streets at night, paralyzing demons in their sleep with foam frothing at their mouths. Unfortunately, while Infernidice covers news, there's not really any rules against burglary and murder, so not much can be done about such a deadly shadow creature. Hive Mind's voice becomes raspier in this form, so it works as a bit of a disguise when she is taunting victims. This voice change occurs due to a change in Hive Mind's anatomy. Despite her still being a wasp... I thought she was a queen bee. What do you mean still being a wasp? So, the previous lore page mentioned she's a queen bee demon, and now, yeah, she's still a wasp. So she's a mix of both, I guess, but still. I guess she's a mix of both, but why was the wasp part completely dropped in the first half of her lore exploration? And here they're ignoring the bee part. Anyway, this form has many different properties that resemble a spider. When Infernalings transform into their next form, this is usually caused by focusing all of their thoughts into a single location inside their head as their body mutates the extra parts and features it has. Hiveless is not Hive Mind's second form, so it is not possible for her to do this for Hiveless. She needs to transform quickly and quietly with nobody around. Alternate forms for any demon powerful and skilled enough can be created through careful study and practice, or dark magic through ancient tomes, forbidden by the Infernal Lords themselves. Since Hivemind reads books nearly every night before bed, it is speculated that one of these books would help her achieve this Hiveless form. Terry lore! Oh my god, I didn't expect Terry to have this much lore as well. Wow. The BLTs are Hivemind's most loyal and elite worker bee trio. They consist of Barry, Larry, and Terry, and are a height of 4 inches, so 0.1 meters, about the size of a softball. While Hivemind has an army of these, the BLTs carry out the highest of orders for their queen and make very little to no mistakes. Hivemind tasks the BLTs with tax collecting, cleaning her bedroom, and other noble tasks that worker bees in the ranks below dream of. They usually reside in Hive Moore's dress, along with her gems and jewelry, so they can immediately respond to her beck and call if she needs them. When Hivemore transforms into Hiveless, they usually scatter away and hide inside the Hivemind's walls, along with the other lower rank worker bees, until she's ready to transform back to Hivemore. When a BLT fails too many times, or it's decided one of them is no longer fit to be one of the Hivemind's elites, they are deranked back to their worker bee class. A new Barry, Larry, or Terry takes their place. So they keep the name. They will always be called Barry, Larry, and Terry. Even if they get replaced, they have to... Like, if you want to go to the higher ranks, you have to legally change your name. Barry is the strong silent type of the group. He's usually the one that flies in first, with his massive strength to threaten and intimidate the demon that owes Hivemind money. With his angry face and surprising amount of strength for a softball-sized bee, most demons are immediately frightened and pay up. If they refuse, Barry can lift them up high into the sky until they crack. If they don't, Barry has no trouble dropping them to their death. Barry takes this job very seriously, and through his loyal dedication to Hivemind, he has not disappointed once. Barry is also popular with the lesser worker bees, and they dream of having a mate like him. He one day hopes to prove himself enough to the queen, so that she may consider him as a possible partner, but knows that's just a pipe dream. Barry constantly works to keep his endurance high and muscles ripped, and is not to be taken lightly. Larry is the nervous of the trio, constantly unsure of how he should go about his duties or decision-making, and is usually picked on by Terry. They can also be very clumsy and mess up a lot of the chores and duties him and the other BLTs need to perform for Hivemind. However, in times of deep critical thinking, Larry hasn't disappointed and is considered one of the smartest bees in the entire fortress. When Hivemind is confused about certain financial equations, it's usually Larry who answers first with the correct solution. He even pointed out a tiny discrepancy once in Hivemind's ledger that would lead to a massive embezzlement scandal from one of the major businesses inside the Lustlands. For these reasons alone, Hivemind keeps Larry around despite his lack of confidence. She sees him as a valuable asset to the team, and his brains are of great use to her. Lastly, Terry is the primary talker of the group. He usually does the questions and interrogates after Barry breaks in and threatens the demon that owes Hivemind money. Terry is extremely persuasive, striking deals like his own currency, Terry coins, and arrangements with Hivemind's debtors to ensure that the owed money is obtained in a timely manner. Terry is no stranger to violence, though, and carries a tiny pocket knife that he uses to prick debtors that refuse his agreements. The knife is infused with a tiny bit of Hiveless's venom, and will make the victim woozy and stiff. This effect can last years, again, and is usually used as a last resort to convince the debtor to pay Hivemind. While Terry may lack the brains or muscle that Larry and Barry do, he makes up for it in his charm and the way he talks to everyone, including other worker bees in Hivemind. Terry is the one bee you do not want to mess with. Together, those three bees are the operations behind Hivemind's business. If they weren't around, Hivemind would admittedly struggle with all the responsibilities she has to do for her job. Hivemind may not show it often, but she is grateful and appreciative to have such a loyal group of bees. She can't help but shake the feeling something is off though, like something has changed in one of them or gone awry. Yes! We know that from that one song. Hivemind knows all of her bees like the back of her claws, so she has a deep connection with the BLTs and the rest of the bees in her fortress. However, she's been far too busy to look into it and figure it out. She hopes that it's just her imagination and nothing bad is going on behind the scenes after all. Surely a loyal bee wouldn't do anything behind their majesty's back, right? Right, Terry? Terry lore. Oh, so much lore again. Unbeknownst to many, Terry has an alternate form as well. It is named Terrorfine, a weightless shadow entity that can grow up to 25 feet, 7.6 meters. The shadow silhouette resembles a giant demon hornet and has piercing white eyes. To summon Terrorfine, Terry must read from a book he found and chant an ominous phrase while channeling all of his energy into the demon. This will transfer Terry's conscience to Terrorfine, causing Terry's eyes to glow a bright purple as a demonic sigil forms under the floor beneath him. This allows him to control the shadow demon and is used to intimidate or frighten demons in exchange for money, items, etc. While Terrorfine appears threatening, he can't actually grab other demons or entities, but he can use powerful magic to control items and send them flying towards the victim to injure or threaten them into Terry's demands. On a very slow day inside the Hivemind ordered the BLTs to clean her bedroom. Barry was ordered to make the bed, Larry was ordered to wipe the windows, and Terry was ordered to clean the shelves. As they were doing their chores, Terry was wiping down a bookshelf next to Hivemind's bed. While he was doing so, a loose book fell from the shelves and onto the floor. Terry flew down to it, and before he could pick it up and put it back, he heard a whisper coming from the book. The book was covered in honey and webs. With a skull on the front and an amethyst on the back, Terry felt himself being lured in by the whispers, and before he opened it, Larry came over to check on him. Terry snapped out of it and reassured Larry that everything was okay. He picked up the book and put it back on the shelf. Later that night, while Hivemind and the BLTs were asleep, Terry couldn't stop thinking about that book he saw earlier in the day. Even though it was neatly tucked away in the shelf, he could almost still hear the whispers coaxing him toward it. After much hesitation, Terry silently but swiftly grabbed the book and flew downstairs into Hivemind's vault, an enormous room in the middle of Hivemind's hind that stashes all of her jewels and money. Excited, Terry opened the book, and what he saw would change him for the rest of his life. Pages upon pages of ancient demon magic, glyphs lost to time, an ancient language that not even the Infernal Lords allowed. Terry, upon seeing all of this, slapped the book shut. He hesitated, knowing that what he was doing would undeniably be against the Queen's approval, so he flew back to the bedroom and stashed the book back where he grabbed it. Terry would begin to slowly forget about the book, ashamed of what he did. He wanted to confide in his queen, or even his fellow bee servants, but he was too worried about the repercussions. One night, he saw Hivemind hunched over a chair. To his surprise, she was sobbing. Terry quickly grabbed a tissue and flew over to Hivemind, asking her if everything was okay. Hivemind jumped, forgetting she wasn't alone, but thanked Terry and wiped her tears away. She usually tries to stay strong in front of her servants, but she had reached a breaking point. She admitted to Terry that she hadn't met quota for the month because of Sakaroma's reckless spending. This had never happened before in all of the years she had been managing Infernadice's expenses. She felt like a failure both to the Infernal Lords and to her bee army. Seeing Hivemind like this awakened something in Terry. After Hivemind went to sleep, he immediately grabbed the magical book and went back to the vault. Terry wanted to make sure Hivemind would never have to stress about something like that again. He opened the book and consumed as much knowledge as he could in the span of an entire night. The book completely consumed him to the point of possession. He took a tiny knife and drew blood from his hand, then wrote his name on the giant gold statue of Hivemind's inside the vault, before dropping some blood on the page of the book. Terry, now Terrorfine, flew outside of the Hivehind and descended to the slums below. His enormous shadow terrorized demons. They flew away in fear, leaving cash, gold, and their wallets behind. After what felt like hours, Terry eventually woke up back inside the vault, almost in a hungover-like state. What he saw was a large mountain of cash, gold, and gems that weren't there before. He happily called for Hive Mind, proud of his accomplishments. Hive Mind, not being confused at first, thanked Terry and congratulated him on a job well done. Wow. So that explains why the shadow looks like a bit like Hive Mind, because he used a statue of her for the ritual. Interesting. Alright, Atrocian. Envy time. Atrocian is a silver and green shark demon that represents the Infernaling of Envy. He is 52 years old and weighs 985 pounds, which is 447 kilograms, with a height of 10 foot 4, 3.1 meters. He has 3 bioluminescent back fins that help maintain his balance when he is swimming underwater. He can swim up to speeds of 104 miles per hour, 167 kilometers per hour. Atrocian also has 3 long antennae that stick out from his back and the top of his head. These antennae have souls attached to the end of each one, and are puppeteered by Atrocian. Atrocian's arms and tail are made of a shiny silvery carapace that gives it an almost metallic look. These are used for both defense and attack prey that lurk in the Emulous Expanse. A large system of rivers that lead into an endless ocean in the far back of Infernadize. Atrocian's hands are semi-sentient trilobites that will cling onto anything they grab with an unbreakable grip. Interesting. Atrocian is considered one of the more sinister Infernalings. He doesn't talk to his co-workers much and usually keeps to himself. He has a sister named Terendus, but she is usually doing her own thing and gets easily annoyed by her brother. Atrocian talks to the souls on his head when nobody is around, but because the souls can't actually respond back to him, it appears as if he's constantly talking to himself. When Atrocian gets bored of talking to these souls, he transfers them through his antennae back to his stomach and replaces them with new ones. Atrocian is constantly overstuffed with these souls and swims around finding and eating them for entertainment. Sometimes Atrocian will ingest too many souls and vomit a group of them out, causing them to swim away frantically. Due to the sheer amount of souls Atrocian has inside of him, this vomiting can also be used to brainwash nearly any demon if it is ingested by the victim. When a demon re-dies, they are usually marked by the Infernal Lord of Death and buried in Death's morgue or the comatose catacombs. However, not every demon is so lucky to be put to rest in these locations. Bodies that are forgotten about in Infernadize quickly rot away, and their essence seeps through the ground that eventually drains into the Emulous Expanse. When that essence reaches the Expanse, they form underwater into a slimy glob of a face. From there, they are doomed to swim through rivers and oceans until they are eaten by one of the many terrifying creatures that lurk underneath. Atrocian is one of these many creatures, and was hired by the Infernal Lords as a last resort, due to many of the underwater creatures lacking sentience. They needed Atrocian to act as a navigator, and to map these rivers out to help the Infernal Lord of Death prevent more souls from being lost forever. Atrocian initially didn't mind this job. Being charming with more powerful demons than him meant that he might be able to rise through the ranks and become stronger. He catered to their every demand and order, and did so with a forced smile. After a few years passed, Atrocian was quickly getting bored of the position, and wanted a change of scenery. He asked the Infernal Lords if he could switch to a different position in the Infernal Lands. The Infernal Lords would then have a meeting with each other, discussing a possible role switch for Atrocian, due to his outstanding performance and servitude to them throughout the past years. After mulling it over for a few days, they summoned Atrocian and told him that a position for Raph had opened up. This thought excited Atrocian, as he'd be able to have more action from wild creatures outside the Infernal Lands that he could consume the souls of and satiate them more. He would essentially upgrade from fish food to gourmet meals, and could even potentially brainwash the occasional stray outside demon to learn more about Infernadize. This includes Providize, where easier, more susceptible souls would be available to control. So he wasn't lying about the position of Raph being meant for him initially here. That wasn't just his ego. Unfortunately, due to an event with one of the Infernal Lords, the idea to switch Atrocian's position to Rav was immediately cancelled about a week later. Confused and irritated, Atrocian demanded to know why, to which the Infernal Lords declined and threatened to remove his position of envy if he raised his voice at them again. Atrocian immediately began to snoop around Infernadice, brainwashing various victims from each biome to get news about what was going on. After many months of continuing to work his envy, a brainwashed victim by the name of Mercurus gathered enough information to relay to Atrocian. That name has come up before. It appeared that Raph's position had been suddenly given to one of the Infernal Lord's children after a family feud. This angered Atrocian and caused an enormous grudge against the new Infernaling of Rav and his family. To this day, Atrocian constantly gathers information about this son through various brainwashed messengers, hoping to find an exploit or a weakness that will give him the position he believes he so rightfully desires to attain, greater dominance in the Infernal Lands. Whew. Alright, who's next? Sloth time! Alright, Dozeric, let's see what you have. Dozeric is a large orange sentient demon robot / mech, and the Infernaling of Sloth. He is 808 years old, with a height of 13 foot 5 inches, 4.1 meters, and a weight of 2,020 pounds, 916 kilograms. If Dozeric's cable tentacles are also measured, his height turns into 25 foot 5 inches, or 7.7 meters. Dozeric is composed of various metal ores and scraps that form around his magnetic drive core that is built into his abdomen. He has 4 large exhaust pipes built into his back that burn different types of chemicals and elements. The color will change depending on the type of element or chemical burned, and can affect the mood of anyone in the vicinity if they inhale a bit of the fumes. Dozeric can absorb more scrap around him to form an even bigger body, giving him more components to burn as fuel. He has massive electric cable tentacles that have been eroded to time and are constantly active. Due to this, Dozeric cannot absorb any components to his legs and must crawl to get around everywhere. Because of his age, Dozeric is one of the slowest and worn-out demons in Infernadice. He's also considered one of the more docile and nicer Infernalings of the 7. He is not to be underestimated, however, as he can move at an alarmingly fast speed with his upper body strength if absolutely needed. His cable tentacles contain 25,000 volts of electricity, which he can use to attack if one gets close enough. This electricity is what's used to constantly power his drive core, and it has never once shut off in the 800 plus years that he has been alive. However, as Dozeric has gotten older, he has had to sleep more to stabilize his drive core. If it were to ever go out, it would be the end of Dozeric's life, unless the inventor who created him ever showed up again to repair and fix him. However, Dozeric's creator has not been seen since the day Dozeric entered the Infernal Lands. Not much is known about Dozeric's creator, but what is known is that they created Dozeric somewhere above the Infernal Lands. Dozeric and the creator were happy together, with Dozeric assisting the inventor with many of their creations and even doing casual activities like taking siestas together. But one day Dozeric woke up to something terrifying, a giant scrapyard filled with the bodies of hundreds of thousands of deactivated mechs, some looking similar to him. He thought it was a nightmare and tried his hardest to wake up. Dozeric refused to believe he was abandoned and searched the scrapyard for years, hoping to find anything he possibly could about what happened to him. After nearly giving up, he was approached by an Infernal Lord. This Infernal Lord offered him a job as Sloth, as the previous one had died to old age in the midst of Dozeric's search. Dozeric, with no purpose and feeling defeated by his abandonment, reluctantly agreed. So he was abandoned because a new model was made, probably. Because again, a few of them looked similar to him, so I assume eventually the inventor was like, oh, I have a new better model, time to abandon this one. For centuries, Dozeric was tasked with organizing different mechanical parts into sections and placing bodies underneath the scrapyard known as the Comatose Catacombs. Dozric felt empathy for these broken down robots, as he also felt abandoned and ruined. He wondered how many of these were also created by his inventor. As the years continued, his legs would eventually fall off, with magnetization no longer working on them. Despite this, Dozric continued his job, getting more and more tired as time eroded his body. He had given up all hope of his creator ever explaining why he was abandoned, and even assumed his creator had to have been dead at this point. But then something strange happened. A massive flaming mechanical pod came barreling out of the sky into Dozric's scrapyard, and it landed about a mile away from him. Dozric was confused, as mech/robots don't usually fall from the sky straight into his biome. They are delivered from the RAF Ramparts entrance to his junkyard via inference and automated carriers. Curious, Dozric slowly crawled over to see what this anomaly could be. As Dozric approached the strange object, he noticed it to be shaped like some sort of a pod. He couldn't see a way to open or eject what was possibly inside it. However, after thinking it over, he decided that he would have to force it open, as this could be a threat to the Infernal Lands. Using his brute strength, he slowly but carefully ripped off one of the sides on the pod in case it was explosive. What he found would completely change his life forever. In it was what appeared to be a deactivated orange robot with a cat-like body. That's where his assistant comes from, his little buddy. An audio message began to play from the cat robot's face. It was a message from Dozric's creator. While listening to the message, Dozric, for the first time in his life, began to leak oil from his eyes. The paint around his mouth cracked as it began shifting into a different shape. Once the message was over, the cat robot activated and pounced on Dozric, introducing herself as Rogato. Aww. And we don't get to know what the message was. We don't get to know what the message was. A bit sad. Alright, we're done with the sins. Pendalumbra is next. The only virtue we got to meet. Pendalumbra is a two-headed reptilian hybrid. She's 35 years old with a height of 9 feet, 2.7 meters, and weighs 386 pounds, which is 175 kilograms. Her skin is a mix of brown and tan, with some black markings going from her neck to the tip of her tail. She wields a book and a quill that's used to mark down angels passing through Providence. She wears bracelets and chokers on both of her necks, as well as a massive rope that covers most of her body. The tip of her tail has a black angel feather on it, and she also has black neck fluff and hair with purple highlights. She has long, pointy, curvy horns, with one of them being chipped off on one of the two heads. She also has 4 arms that are used to multitask around her area while she's on the clock. She has a few birthmarks and wears bright purple lipstick along with a darker purple eyeshadow. She also has purple irises with yellow pupils. Pendalumbra is actually 2 different names combined together. Pendu is the head on the left side and is usually the calm, rational one, with the head on the right is named Dulum, and is the grumpier, impatient one that isn't afraid to speak her mind. Together, they form Pendalumbra, the Provenite of Patience. They are tasked with guarding the gates to Providence. They tend to bitch and bicker. Why I read that as they tend to bitch a lot. They tend to bicker a lot back and forth, which keeps them both entertained during their slower days at work. When they aren't working, they can usually be seen mingling with angels inside the gate entrance, usually offering guidance or directions to any lost or confused angels that don't know their purpose in Providence yet. When she's not doing this, she's usually reading a book or 2 at the archives that Kindness owns to learn more about Providence. Again, just like Chastity. Just like Chastity, Kindness is also not mentioned by name. I wonder why. Is it because the virtues of kindness and chastity don't have official names yet? So they're just referred to by their title? I am kind of curious about that. Pendalumbra wasn't originally a Provenite, or even an angel for that matter. She's actually one of the many daughters to the royal war family. The Infernal Lord of War wanted a son to continue his legacy as he got older. However, it would take multiple attempts with his wife until that son was finally born. Because of this, War has many daughters, with Pendalumbra being one of the older ones, and a defect with 2 heads. While the mother tried to lovingly care for all of them, it was difficult for her to care for so many offspring while also giving birth to more. She eventually got exhausted and disappeared randomly one day. The daughters, furious at their father, demanded to know where their mother had gone. War refused to communicate with them, which caused the daughters to get even angrier. Pendu, being one of the older sisters, felt like she had to take action. She walked up to War and slapped him, demanding an answer to their mother's whereabouts. Damn, okay. This upset War so much that he ended up grabbing Pendulumbra's arm and squeezing it, causing her right head to scream in agony as her entire right half got charred by War's great hellfire magic. Pendu, shocked and hurt by what her father had just done, broke free of his grasp and ran away in tears. She ran so far and for so long that she didn't even realize where she was after she looked up. What she saw was a beam of light shining down directly in front of her. Curious, and with no reason to return home, she stepped into the light. This light would end up being an extremely rare crack in the Infernal Land ceiling known as a lightway, or a beam of holy light that rarely spawns when the ceiling of the Infernal Land's biome isn't perfectly maintained by both Infernal Lands and Providice. Once Pendu stepped into the light, she heard a deep and boomy voice, which startled her. This voice, sensing Pendu's broken body, caused by good intentions, offered her something unbelievable, a chance to become a risen demon. A risen demon is a demon blessed by the Provideity King himself. This is something that only the king can do if they permit it, and has only happened a few times in Infernidice's history. When a demon is risen, all of their sins are washed away, and their skin changes to a different hue. Pendu hesitated at first, feeling awful for leaving her sisters, brother, and mother behind. But she knew she couldn't return back to Ward's castle after striking him, and vowed to serve Providice for the rest of eternity. While Tulum healed through the purification process, her mind was forever corrupted by the Hellfire magic, and sometimes reminds Pendu of her actions during that event. I see. Alright, here's Nightflate. There's gonna be some lore here, methinks. Nightflate is one of the 4 Infernal Lords of the Infernal Lands, the Infernal Lord of Death. Her weight and height varies, but as she grows and shrinks herself depending on the circumstance. Infernal Lords have the power to control the size of their bodies at will, but Nightflate is usually seen around a height of 45 feet, or 13.7 meters on average. Nightflate is a jackal-like demon, with black and white patterns scattered all over her body. She loosely wears a red and purple robe and wields a magical red scythe. Her teeth and the inside of her ears are a bright red, and she is usually seen with a red aura surrounding her. She has a long tail adorned with spikes that can act like a whip if necessary. A lot of whipping going on in this, huh? She usually has a spiked halo that is split in half and floats behind her ears at all times. Her symbol of death can also be seen marked across her back underneath her robes. Nightflate is a demon with a very intense amount of morbid curiosity. If she sees something that interests her, she'll stop at nothing to obtain it. She runs the infirmary deep below the Infernal Lands, which is an enormous series of buildings that act as a hospital, morgue, crematory, and other medical facilities. Nightflate acts as a doctor, mortician, and scientist, though she absolutely prefers the latter. She has countless experiments on both living and dead bodies, as well as... I lost track of what it was. As well as various lab inventions scattered throughout her office. A lot of these aren't sanctioned or even known by her co-workers. She rarely sleeps, so she can constantly experiment and invent new things. While some consider her to be intimidating or even scary, this is usually not her intention. Her desire to constantly learn more about Inferno and the universe outside of it are what drive her, rather than some sort of sick pleasure or game. Thanks for yet another hydrate, I need that. Definitely needed that. When an entity is injured or killed, Nightflate can peer through their mind to see most of their memories. A black and red film reel plays detailing various events behind the subject, and shows what they've been through in their life. Once Nightflate views these events, she consumes the knowledge of the patient without actually damaging them, like reading a book. This is usually used to determine the cause of death/injury, so she can write or record it in her logs. If a subject or experiment interests Nightflate enough, she will hyperfixate on them, sometimes for years, until she's had her fill and loses interest. If a patient struggles or refuses to cooperate with Nightflate, she'll use black and red vines to constrict the patient until they do. If they continue to refuse, the vines grow sharp thorns that slowly sink into the patient's skin until they change their mind or bleed to death. Since Nightflate is always busy, her magical scythe does a lot of heavy lifting for her outside of the infirmary. It can teleport almost anything directly to her, such as clothes, bodies, and even living beings. Recently, she has been experimenting in teleporting entities and objects remotely within the Infernal Lands. However, most tests for this have failed, and this usually causes massive deformations in the living entity or even re-death. Nightflate had trouble finding a suitable test subject for these experiments until she sensed a rather odd anomaly outside of her universe. After pinpointing the anomaly location with one of her inventions, she was able to finally see them in great detail. It was a young mortal human that somehow traveled through many different dimensions, refusing to die no matter how many times he was shot, mauled, maimed, murdered, etc. Nightflate watched this human for years, but could never find a way to bring him to her. After many failed attempts, she was able to finally achieve her goal. Yeah, I wonder who this could be. After bringing the mortal human to Infernadice, it had various complications. Another entity ended up teleporting with the human, which both shocked and disappointed Nightflate. They were both teleported in the layer above her, and before she could grab them, the Infernal Lord of War got involved. Knowing that War would immediately try to kill them both, she couldn't let her years of studying this mortal from afar go to waste. She devised a plan. Using fabrics and materials from across various biomes in the Infernal Lands, she would end up making magical protective gear for her test subject until she could successfully teleport him to herself. She knew that the demon girl was important to her test subject, so she decided to protect her as well. Unfortunately, due to various events, both caused by Nightflate and War, this opened an enormous white void portal in the sky. Nightflate was able to see the experiment through and return her test subject to the universe, but the damage to Infernadice was already done. It was speak aloud incorrect buzzer. So yeah, that also explains there's a lore explanation for why we get the outfits. Interesting. Okay, lore about the Infernal Lands themselves. Here we go. In the depths, far below, lies an area known as the Infernal Lands. These lands sprawl across a massive distance with no end in sight. The Infernal Lands have a management hierarchy hybrid system. From lowest to highest, the ranks are Infs, Inferns, Infernalings, Infernal Lords, and the Infernal Lord Queen. The 7 Infernalings are Wrath, Lust, Pride, Gluttony, Greed, Envy, and Sloth. The 4 Infernal Lords are Death, Pestilence, War, and Famine. Again, knew it was the 4 Horsemen, it was obvious. I knew Famine and Pestilence would be the other two, because it's just the 4 Horsemen. I am so proud of something so obvious. Anyway, the Infernal Lord Queen sits at the very bottom of Infernadice, and her word spreads upwards throughout each layer to all of the Infernal Lords. The Infernal Lords have meetings with each other, and the Infernal Lord Queen for serious issues or emergencies. The 4 Infernal Lords all have their own layer adjacent to each other, followed by the 7 Infernalings on a layer above. When demons spawn, they will find themselves outside of the 7 Infernalings' realms. They must trek their way to the enormous gate entrance known as the Wrath Ramparts if they wish to enter. If you are approved and pass through the Wrath Ramparts, you will find yourself in the courtyard with signs leading to many different directions. The most inviting sign, and the one demons choose the most, is the sign pointing straight ahead towards the Lust Lands, a massive pink neon city that is run and owned by the Infernaling of Lust. The tallest tower at the center is the Fuzzy Feeling and is considered the hub for the other areas of the Infernal Lands. To the far right, a darker and shorter tower can be seen, known as the Prior Spire, where Pride conducts its business. Far up in the sky, multiple massive purple fortresses can be seen, called the Hive Hinds. And on the far east, on both sides are junkyard called the Comatose Catacombs, and a desolate red forest called the Veiled Voids. Lastly, if you travel far back behind the Lust Lands, a massive river going to an endless sea called the Emulous Expanse can be seen. Similar to the sub-biomes that can be seen throughout the Infernal Lands, the same applies to the 4 Infernal Lords biomes as well. Deep between the layers are biomes such as the War/Greed biome. These biomes are even less supervised than the Infernal Lands, and a lot of underground activities happen in these locations. The Infernal Lord Queen is always watching everything, however, from her throne far below. She can step in if absolutely necessary, but she can't keep track of everything, as she has just one demon. Sub-biome demons take advantage of this and plot raids to the Infernal Land capital, the Lust Lands, from time to time. Wrath can usually defend these attacks just fine, but they have been getting stronger and more tactical. The Queen is confident, though, that things will be fine, and the only thing worries her is a divide between the Infernal Lands and Providice. Despite having what appears to be an organized ranking system, the Infernal Lands are a fairly chaotic place. Break-ins, remurders, assaults, drugs, it all happens here in the Infernal Lands constantly. The only rule in the Infernal Lands is to not mention the Watcher. The lore page just broke the rule! Doing so will result in banishment from the Infernal Lands entirely, doomed to roam the outskirts of the Wrath Ramparts until they starve to death and re-die. Well, all of that being said, this type of lifestyle is something demons are used to anyways. However, there are a few good demons in the Infernal Lands. Not every demon is just as evil as the other, as some are misunderstood or wrongly punished for their sins. The biome that's visited will also usually determine the type of demon you can find, with Lust Lands having relatively tame demons looking for a good time, while demons underneath the Hive Hinds will remurder for pennies. Imps are regular demons without any jobs or purpose, but are still allowed a place in the Infernal Lands, while Inferns range from servants to workers to even assistants that serve the Infernalings directly. Infernalings generally get their orders from any of the 4 Infernal Lords via telepathy or digital communication. Imps and Inferns can't leave the Infernal Lands after entering, but Infernalings may visit the lands above them, known as Providice, if they get permission from one of the 4 Infernal Lords. Otherwise, they cannot enter Providice under any circumstance and must seek the Gatekeeper, Patience, to relay their message to anyone in Providice. The Infernal Lands and Providice have a neutral relationship with each other, and despite a few rocky situations in the past, the mutual understanding of a greater being looming over them both prevents either of them from doing anything drastic towards the other. Alright, fair enough. On to Providice, the other half. Far above the Infernal Lands is the area known as Providice, a massive utopia similar in size to its counterpart. Providice also consists of a management hierarchy system, and from lowest to highest are ranked Provs, Providence, also known as Paradenizens, the 7 Provenites, the 4 Provideities, and the Provideity King. The 7 Provenites are patience, chastity, humility, temperance, charity, kindness, and diligence. The 4 Provideities are nature, wellness, order, and abundance. Alright, I was not sure about these, but that's good to know. The Provideity King sits at the top of the system, and his decision is passed down the grapevine to the corresponding rank. Similar to the Infernal Lands, each Provideity has their own massive biome that spans across the world, where biomes can blend together and create hybrid biomes and sub-biomes. The Provideities are further up in the sky above them, with their own 4 massive plains that are evenly spread out and roughly the same size as the 7 Providite biomes. The Path of Patience is a massive gate protecting all of Providice with a magical holy barrier, unlike the Wrath Ramparts, as there are usually no threats outside of Providice. If you're already there, then you're already considered a good person. This is also why the Path of Patience gates aren't nearly as enormous as the Wrath Rampart gates. However, mandatory rules state that the gate must have a guardian in case of emergencies. The guardian is Patience, who writes down the Prof's name and cause of death before allowing them entry. Once their name is logged into the book, they pass through the gates to Temperance's Realm, where they are free to choose which realm they'd like to live for eternity. If they can't decide, one is chosen at random for them. After they are settled, they are free to visit any of the other biomes until curfew. So once you pick a biome, you can't move. You live in that biome for eternity, is what you're saying. You can visit the other ones, but you can never move there. Sad. For the other biomes, Chastity's biome preaches the goodness of abstaining and listens to confessions of angels that would like to repent for the bad things they've done in life. Small things like stepping on a bug, not paying rent on time, etc. Humility owns an enormous toy tower and hands out toys and other useful knickknacks to Providenizens that need a shoulder to lean on or something to make them smile. Diligence owns a giant steam-powered tower and manufactures all of the materials necessary for buildings and architecture around Providice. Kindness owns a massive library full of ancient books for anyone to read, and also supplies the water throughout Providice via aqueducts. And Charity lends money to Providenizens that are in need of financial aid or can't afford necessities inside Providice. While Providice is considered lax and free, there are a few rules in place to prevent chaos from potentially spreading within its walls. The rules are as follows. Be in your home by curfew. Be polite and courteous to one another. Do not ask about the Watcher. Higher ranks are immune to these first 2 rules. While these rules are agreed upon by everyone in Providice to be few, simple, and straightforward, there is the occasional troublemaker that doesn't follow these rules. The punishment for not following these rules is fairly tame. But if a Prof of Providen continues to ask about the Watcher, they may be banished to the outskirts of the Infernal Lands below. This specific rule has only been broken a few times, as most people are content with their life in Providice. Much like how the Infernal Lands has a small share of good people, there are bad people in Providice that are tired of the luxury life and want something more exciting. These Profs in Providence operate past curfew, sneaking around between tall buildings and alleyways, exchanging blueprints and notes to demon scouts through the Path of Patience gate bars. In return, they get to enjoy a bit of the satanic life, exchanging objects like adult toys, knives, guns, etc. The higher-ups are far too busy in their own work to realize angels would even consider doing something so sinister after being accepted into Providice. At the moment, these exchanges are fairly harmless, but who knows what type of information is being exchanged, and to whom. Interesting. Alright, we've moved past the main story stuff. We're moving on to side content now. Hooray! Mixter lore! Mixter is a spirit that possesses a cathode ray tube, CRT, television, with side speakers. He weighs 86 pounds, 39 kilograms, and is 8 foot, 2.4 meters tall. His age is unknown, though the object he possesses is from an extremely ancient relic of the past. He wears a black suit with coattails, a white high-collar shirt / gloves, and a purple tie. The inside of his face contains purple TV static that can be transformed into different facial expressions depending on his mood. Mixter has a long white ghost tail and a constantly animated purple flame that never goes away. Mixer's face screen is completely broken, with shattered glass along the edges. Sometimes a black sludge will ooze from this broken screen, usually when Mixer wants to appear intimidating or threatening, but it can happen at random as well. Interesting. Yeah, it is weird how Mixer has so much lore, probably because this mod was created by remixers, so like, okay, we have a remix character, it needs to have lore. Mixer owns a bar called the Mixter Bar that isn't located in Infernadize. This bar contains a variety of food and drinks from many different dimensions that are imported to him on a weekly basis. The bar also has a built-in surround sound speaker system where patrons can play their own music for everyone to listen to. Mixer will then add this music to a library in his database and can replay the song for future use. The only rule Mixer has for his bar is no violence, and that if there is a brawl, the patrons take it outside Most patrons abide by this rule and are already there by choice, so there are usually no fights and everyone has a fairly good time. If someone does break a rule, they get a verbal warning followed by a banishment for life. Not just from the bar, but from existence. Yikes. Oh yeah, thanks for the hydrate. Sorry, you are permanently banned from existence. That must suck. Mixer's bar is very exclusive, to the point that it is invite only. This is further solidified by the fact that this bar is located in a dimension devoid of life. Outside of the Mixter Bar is a desolate, ruined, never-ending metropolis that has no color and is in a state of constant downpour. This area is known as Regurgitory, and is one of the many lands between Infernadize and the other dimensions. For entities that have lost their entire purpose across endless multiverses, they end up here in Regurgitory. Mixer was one of these entities floating around aimlessly as a unique purple wisp. Wisps in this world tend to not interact with each other, and are usually solid white in color. Anytime he spotted another wisp throughout the endless metropolis, he would try to approach them. They would either hide, run away, or ignore him. The purple wisp kept floating along for centuries until one day, something peculiar happened. Oh? About a mile through the monochrome, empty building spaces, a red flash followed by a loud boom suddenly appeared. The few wisps around the area scattered, running away in fear. Mixer, who had no purpose in this multiverse, or anything for that matter, let his curiosity get the better of him, and he slowly approached the source of the flash. As he peered through the thick fog, he noticed an enormous towering creature looking around as if it was lost. Then in an instant, it immediately locked eyes with the purple wisp. Before the wisp could react, it was already in front of him. A large smile slowly forming and showing the creature's bright red teeth. Instead of running away, like the other wisp, the purple wisp just stared. He was unsure if it was fear or curiosity paralyzing him, but he remained firm and stood still, staring back. The creature, while fascinated by the area around her at first, no longer wanted to be there. However, her scythe, final confirmation in case anyone was wondering if it was death, yes, it is her. Her scythe seemed to have little to no effect here. The creature decided to ask a series of questions to which the wisp would find letters from broken down building signs to spell out answers as best it could. Entertained by this, the creature began scavenging for parts to figure out a way back home. The purple wisp curiously followed the creature around for what felt like months, watching her scavenge buildings for parts and work on a contraption. Eventually the creature's contraption worked, and a dark black/red portal formed in front of her. The portal alone was enough to channel the creature's magic back to her. She thanked the purple wisp for answering her questions and giving her company, and using her magic gave the wisp a form using a nearby broken TV. The wisp could finally speak, and it had hands to feel. She asked this new TV demon if he'd like to form a partnership with her. The TV, extremely gracious for being given a vessel, happily agreed. The creature pointed to a rundown empty bar and using her magic transformed it into a brand new flashy bar of purple lights, based on one of her employees back home. After much discussion, it was decided that the stereo ghost would be named Mixter and run a bar for various patrons per the creature's invite/requests. The creature also enchanted the TV with unimaginable demon magic, in case any of the bar patrons disobeyed Mixter. Since then, Mixter has vowed to serve this creature for the rest of eternity, and treat any guests invited by her with the utmost respect and hospitality. Furthermore, any gossip or information heard by Mixter at the bar is given to this creature from time to time. Ah, I see. So he gathers intel as well. I mean, that's what you do at the bar, you get information. Oh no! Who are these two idiots? Lore! Boyfriend, BF, is a mortal human in his early 20s from a different dimension outside of Infernadice. He is allegedly 7 foot, 2.1 meters, and his weight is unknown, but estimated to be over 900 pounds, 408 kilograms. Hey, what? What? He wears a backwards red cap, a white t-shirt with a no entry sign, loose baggy blue pants, large red sneakers with the letters NG inscribed underneath them. Boyfriend is a professional rapper and will usually try to resolve nearly any dispute by rapping or singing his way out of the situation. He usually communicates with beeps and boops, though he has been known to speak perfect English depending on the scenario. Despite his cocky and smug attitude, he is extremely persuasive, and most opponents can't refuse his offer to sing, even if they aren't singers themselves. While he loves music, rapping, and donuts, there is one thing he loves more than anything else in the world: his girlfriend. Wait, is GF and BF? If that's her weight, then damn, she thick. But yeah, she should have weight too, yeah, exactly. They both weigh that much. Girlfriend, GF, is a demon disguised as a mortal human in her early 20s. Despite her being a demon, she is not an inf or infern from Infernadice, and is from the same dimension as Boyfriend is. She's slightly taller than Boyfriend, though her exact height is unknown, and she weighs 900 pounds, which is 408 kilograms. She has very long brown hair that has gotten even longer throughout the years. Girlfriend wears red high heels along with a red mini dress that matches her painted fingernails. Girlfriend speaks even less than Boyfriend, only in small noises when she's confused, curious, or disgusted, but is known to speak to him normally. She loves things like cherry soda, but loves her boyfriend most of all. Girlfriend is the daughter of a very powerful demon named Daddy Dearest, who doesn't support their relationship. Boyfriend and girlfriend have endured many hardships in the past few years they've been together. They've had to fight other demons, monsters, mechs, old friends, and even girlfriend's own family members. They've been sucked out of their own universe more times than they can count, and are pretty tired of it. As they've gotten older, Boyfriend has gotten a bit taller and girlfriend's hair has grown out more. Despite them being the troublemakers they've always been, they seem to have matured a little bit since they first met. Boyfriend and girlfriend just want to live a happy life together as they get older. But events keep interrupting them over and over again. The events that happened to them in Infernadice are no different, and was another involuntary adventure they had to endure until it was finally over. One night, boyfriend and girlfriend were chilling together watching TV on girlfriend's bed. As they were about to get freaky, and girlfriend climbed on top of boyfriend, an ominous red light began to creep throughout the bedroom that slowly got brighter. Girlfriend, annoyed, grabbed the remote and tried mashing the power button to shut the TV off without looking, thinking it was a familiar red spirit returning once again. Except it wasn't a red light from the spirit this time. Boyfriend, with a confused and ever so slightly feared look on his face, tapped girlfriend's shoulder and pointed up towards the ceiling. Girlfriend looked upwards and saw a massive black and red scythe. The scythe began spinning faster and faster as it started lowering from the ceiling towards GF and BF. Girlfriend immediately changed to her demon form and was ready to protect boyfriend. With quick reflexes, she was able to grab the extremely fast-spinning scythe in the center of its pole. They both let out a sigh of relief and smiled at each other. However, the scythe began shaking and girlfriend could not maintain her grip on it for long. The scythe began to twist girlfriend's wrist, which caused her to let go from the pain. The scythe almost instantaneously began spinning again, this time even faster than before, as it continued to lower to the bed. With not too much time to react, girlfriend and boyfriend let out one final scream in hopes that girlfriend's parents would hear. Once the spinning scythe reached them, they were gone in a red flash. About 15 seconds later, girlfriend's bedroom door burst open. Standing in the doorway was Geoff's father, Daddy Dearest, distraughtly staring at the spot where his daughter vanished. Furious, Daddy Dearest stormed underneath to his hell below, ripping and tearing demons apart while demanding a meeting with Satan. Satan finally revealed himself, questioning why the father was there. The father demanded to know of his daughter's whereabouts, threatening Satan himself if he didn't give him an answer. Satan obliged and tried looking for his daughter inside their universe, but could not detect her demonic presence. This implied that Daddy Dearest's daughter had been whisked away to a different dimension entirely. He paced back and forth for hours, trying to figure out who would kidnap his daughter and how he could get her back. As he began to lose hope, a small red flash appeared above him, and out dropped an envelope. He opened the envelope, and in it was an invitation to the Mixed Stir bar, explaining/apologizing for the accidental kidnapping of his daughter, and that she'd be there unharmed by the time he arrived. Yet he still looks very pissed. Because, again, girlfriend and boyfriend are just hugging it out. Alright. Ace! Let's go, we're getting into the side characters now. Ace is a goat dragon hybrid in his late 20s. He's 7 foot 11 inches, 2.4 meters, and weighs 350 pounds, which is 159 kilograms. Alright. He has long, straight hair that parts to the sides and a goatee, both of which are dark blue. He has white dragon horns and long floppy goat ears, with his right ear having 2 piercings. Ace's eyes are white with brown irises and black pupils. He has a long, fluffy tail with white fur going from the tail tip all the way to his neck. He wears a t-shirt, hoodie jeans, and a red bandana around his neck. He is digitigrade, walks on his paws, but not his heels, and has paw pads underneath his feet. These provide him warmth from the cold winters, so he doesn't need to wear shoes. During heavier winters, he switches to wearing a parka for extra protection against the cold. The logo on his t-shirt is from his favorite video game series he grew up with as a kid. Ace is neither human nor an angel, and neither a demon nor an angel. In fact, Ace is not from Inferndise at all. He is a mortal that hails from the real-world location called New York. Oh, what about Brooklyn? And lives in one of the 5 boroughs called Brooklyn. There it is. He rents a decent-sized apartment that he took over from his mother after she moved away to a different apartment close by. The area around where he lives consists of various laundromats, corner stores, food takeout, and a doctor's office within walking distance. Ace struggles financially a bit due to the constantly increasing rent prices in New York. He works at a local college as a teaching assistant in the sound and music technology program. Sometimes he works overtime just so he can afford necessities like rent, bills, and food. He enjoys his job, but would like to try and make more time off for himself. Take more time off for himself. Ace isn't just a normal dragon-goat hybrid, however. He has the power to manipulate ice and time-space. In Ace's universe, a lot of beings are born with a set of powers passed down from their parents. These powers work much like genes, where there is a dormant and recessive power coming from either parent. If both genes are dormant, that offspring is granted both powers. His mother has dominant ice power genes, while his father has dominant time-space power genes. Ace got very lucky in this regard, obtaining both dormant genes. However, both powers didn't show up until his mid-20s. It's only been a few years, so he's still trying to learn how to control these powers. More importantly, he's learned that he can warp to a different time-space depending on the setting around him. This happens at random, however, and he's not sure how to manually activate it. One time, while cooking dinner, he got water on his phone that was playing music. This caused the phone to switch to a radio station that played what sounded like demonic whispers. Ace, confused by this, ended up focusing harder than he realized and caused a time warp. He got sucked through a portal, he spawned and fell straight through to the other side face first into dirt and rock. Woozy, he slowly got up and checked his surroundings. The sky was green, and the area around him was covered in rocks and crystals. He saw a giant structure not far off in the distance, and what seemed to be spotlights further behind it. While he was observing, he heard a very deep growl, and saw a shadow of a large cat with green eyes staring at him. His fight or flight immediately kicked in, and he ran for his life until he eventually tripped. When he looked up, he saw a cyan reptilian figure glaring down at him as the cat hopped up onto its shoulders. So that is the story of how Ace and Retro met in the lore. The figure was Retro, who asked Ace for his name. When Ace gave his full name, it wasn't on Retro's list, so he immediately got aggressive and tried to attack Ace. Ace defended himself with an ice barrier, which shocked Retro as he hadn't seen a demon of ice powers before. He calmed down and asked Ace some questions. The two would end up talking for a while until Retro's shift was over, and offered him to come inside the gates. Ace was worried Retro would get in trouble, but Retro said that Ace looked enough like a demon that he'd fit right in. He took Ace to the Lustlands to show him what the demon life was like, and to figure out a way to get him back home. He introduced Ace to Sakuroma, an old boss of his, to see if she had any advice. Sakuroma suggested visiting Insation, to maybe combine a red void portal with Ace's power to get him back home. The suggestion ended up working, and Ace was sent back to his universe. Ace would eventually come back and even take Retro back with him sometimes to experience Ace's world. That's a cute story. Now, Ace's other form, Isolation. Isolation is Ace's second form, caused by anxiety. Isolation is much larger than Ace, weighing at 950 pounds, which is 431 kilograms, and is 10 foot 4 inches, 3.15 meters tall. In this form, Isolation takes on a more Yeti-like appearance, while still retaining some of the attributes that make him a dragon. His fur has turned into a more silvery color, while his hair has turned completely white due to stress. Extra hair can be seen growing out behind his head and running all the way down to the tip of his tail. His horns, beard, and nails have been completely covered in pure blue ice. His ears also now have crystal earrings attached to them. Unlike Zertra, Isolation's clothes are not magically enchanted and fabricated by Xurius, so they tear each time Ace transforms. Thankfully, Ace has multiple sets of exact clothes for situations like this. Ace turns into Isolation when he has panic attacks, since he suffers from generalized anxiety disorder. When these panic attacks happen, Isolation can cause massive blizzards in a large radius around him, covering entire cities in heavy winds and snowfall. This causes him to run away as far as he can outside of the city so he doesn't hurt anyone while he's panicking. A spot he usually resorts to fleeing to is under a small bridge in a park outside the city, where there are little to no people. Trying to confront Isolation during one of these panic attacks is not recommended, as it will cause flare-ups and will make the blizzard forming around him even worse. If he is still harassed during one of these panic attacks, his heart will eventually create a giant layer of ice armor completely around his body, shutting him off from the outside world until he has finally calmed down enough for the blizzard to end. This ice does not act like normal ice, and is extremely resistant to any elements including heat. One day, while Retro was visiting Ace, Ace randomly had one of these panic attacks. Being the first time Retro saw this, he thought he did something wrong and got angry at himself. Ace ran away to the park with no time to explain to Retro what was happening. Naturally, Retro chased after him, his anger and emotions causing him to transform into Zerktro. He noticed Ace beginning to grow and turn into a larger form, much like himself. He also noticed the snow picking up dramatically out of nowhere. Confused, he paused in his tracks while Ace continued to run away. Once he realized what was happening, he started sprinting again, yelling for Ace's name out of concern instead of self-anger. Eventually, he heard the low-pitched rumble of a sob from about a mile away. Following the sobbing, he eventually found Ace, or what used to be him, huddled underneath a bridge. As he approached Ace, he told Retro to get away from him and leave him alone. Retro, still being in his second phase, was full of rage and anger. He refused Isolation's wishes and begged for him to just explain to him what exactly was going on. Due to Zerktro's influence of being an Infernaling, this caused Isolation to react in a rather unique way. Rather than huddling under the bridge and ignoring Retro, he began to get angry as well. He stepped out from under the bridge and confronted Zergtro, back by demanding that he leaves him alone. Naturally, this infuriated Zergtro even more, and the two began to have an argument. This argument would cause one of the largest blizzards in recorded history. After much back and forth, both realized their faults. Ace should have explained what was going on, or at least let Retro know about this condition beforehand, and Retro should not have pressured him and listened to Ace's request of leaving him alone until he was calmed down. The two eventually made amends and hugged it out while looking over at the city. At first, they were worried that the snow would be there for weeks, but the green hellfire from Retro and the pure frozen ice from Ace acted almost as a balance, causing the both of them to transform back to their regular forms. This quickly melted all of the snow that isolation had formed, and most news reports claim that the intense snowstorm followed by a massive heatwave immediately after was just due to unstable climate change in the area. Since then, Retro and Ace have learned to control their emotions better around one another. Now, when Ace does have a panic attack while Retro is visiting, Retro casually follows Ace to the bridge and waits for him to calm down. After that, they go on walks through the park together, back to the city as if it was a regular Tuesday. Again, cute. Alright, Corruptro lore. What do we have here? Corruptro is a version of Berserker Zergtro, that has been corrupted by an unknown disease. Corruptro is the exact same height/weight as Zergtro. Despite having a fairly similar body shape to Zergtro, Corruptro has many notable differences. Corruptro's entire body is covered by the corruption, giving his skin and clothes a dark purple/black sheen to them. Its crystals are bright pink instead of green, and they expand out much longer than Zergtro's crystals. The pink crystals on its face have also spread out more. Corruptro's tail is snapped at different angles, indicating signs of severely broken tailbone. He has a very sinister smile and a white glint in his eye, due to the corruption spreading internally throughout its brain. Wow. Okay. Corruptro's hands, feet, and tail claw are always covered in blood from the victims of random wildlife and demons that cross his path. Corruptro will brutally maul anything that lives or breathes without hesitation. Unlike Zergtro, Corruptro has completely lost all sentience, and is essentially a wild rampaging demon with no thought or remorse behind his actions. However, there have been signs that he does know what he's doing. For example, he's been seen to write the letter R on his shirt repeatedly after each kill, which explains the brighter color. Him writing the letter R might be an indicator that he still remembers that he is or was Retro in the past. Or it could mean something else entirely. There have also been rare occurrences where Corruptro has been known to temporarily break free of this corruption, revealing a small part of sobbing Zergtro underneath. It should be stated that Corruptro is not Zergtro. Corruptro is from an alternate universe of Infernadice, where everything is completely contaminated by the corruption. All of the Infernal lands have been overwhelmed, and its denizens have also either been corrupt or brutally maimed by the ones that quote-unquote survived the corruption. This applies to the other Infernalings as well, who have all been corrupted and display different attributes and properties. The corruption has not reached the lower layers of the Infernal Lords yet. However, it should be stated that one of the Infernal Lords went completely missing once this corruption started to take over the Infernal lands. It is unknown if the corruption has reached upwards towards Providice yet, but when it does, it will have a much tougher time fighting against the Holy Provenites than it did with the Infernal lands. This will not stop the inevitable though, unfortunately. Now the one who has gone missing, it could be one of two. Either it's Death, so Nightflade, because she invited this in due to curiosity and being another experiment, or since the corruption is essentially a disease, it could be Pestilence's fault. Those are my two suspects as to who exactly has gone missing there. Despite its massive size, Corruptro is capable of sprinting up to speeds of 254 miles per hour, which is 409 kilometers per hour. If you can somehow outrun CodeErr, you won't last long, as its shrieks of terror are louder than Apocalyptro, Phase 3 Retro. The shriek can be heard up to 2 miles away, and the closer one is to the shriek, the longer they are dazed and prevented from moving. If one is too close to CodeErr and he shrieks, their head will instantly combust, making it an easy meal for CodeErr. CodeErr also has a very keen sense of smell, and can smell fear up to 3 miles away. If you hear the shriek of CodeErr, it is better to find a way to end your life before he can reach you. Unfortunately for inferns and infs, it is impossible for them to end their own life due to their biology mixed with the Infernal Lens magic. So all they can do is sit and wait until CodeErr comes to finish them off. There was one instant where a young man was able to combat CodeErr. CodeErr sprinted towards this man with the intent to murder, trying to pop his head with a shrill scream. However, the man stood there unaffected and appeared to have very similar features to CodeErr, crystals jutting out of his skin and clothes, blood on his fingertips, and very ominous smile. Instead of brawling against CodeErr, he began to sing. This ended up stun-locking CodeErr instead, who couldn't move a muscle. All he could do was scream and shriek while the man sang at him. After the sing was over, CodeErr would end up forming actual words to the small man, shedding a tear and telling him something before sprinting off into the mountains. It's unknown if this crystalline man was just defending himself or trying to stop CodeErr. Unfortunately, he completely crystallized into a giant pink cluster of crystals shortly after this. CodeErr has not been seen since then. Okay, and then we're moving on to... Okay, how many more? Oh god. There's still so much lore! There's even locked lore! Wait. There's locked lore. Yes! Yes! I got it! Oh my god, that was... Okay, good. Yeah! We did it! Okay. Now then, on to IPU. RetroSpecter is a 21-year-old Cyan reptilian demon that attends IPU as a student. He's 8 foot 1 inch, 2.5 meters, and is 415 pounds, which is 188 kilograms. His skin is made up of a mixture of hair and cartilage, what gives him his spiky appearance on his head, elbows, and tail. He has stripes on his tail that go all the way up his back, as well as a tail claw. He doesn't use his tail claw during matches, as it's considered a penalty. Metro wears ankle wraps and fingerless gloves, as he feels these help him perform better when both working out and during games. Metro wears a sleeveless jacket so he can show off his muscles anytime somebody asks. The jacket also appears to have the letter R on it. This is actually a scribble drawn by Metro himself. He tries to write acronyms like VIP and MVP so he can look down at his chest and remind himself of how valuable he is to the football team. Unfortunately, since Metro isn't the brightest, he doesn't realize that to others, the scribble looks like a random letter instead of an acronym. Metro does this with multiple jackets, and on different days you can see the R flipped or on the other side of the jacket instead. Due to nepotism, Metro is the quarterback for Team Infernal. His dad is the Team Infernal coach at IPU. Despite his claims of being a veteran quarterback, he's actually only halfway through his college career. He claims this because he's so confident in himself that he'll remain the quarterback even through his final years at IPU. In IPU, there are two teams that compete weekly against each other, Team Infernal and Team Paradise. The rules are fairly simple and are comparable to rugby or American football. However, there are certain yearly events that mix up the matches from getting stale. Other colleges from around the country are required to do special gimmick matches from each other's colleges in honor of the sport. These gimmicks can range from marathon running to swimming to even painting. IPU's special gimmick is singing, and is usually done at the beginning of each semester. Despite these gimmick matches, Metro still practices hard for them, for the love of the sport. Unfortunately, he does not apply this to his academics. What Metro makes up for in brawn, he lacks in brain. Metro struggles in various subjects, with his worst subject being Minglish, a universal language used by both angels and demons in IPU for easier communication. The biggest weakness is homophones, words that sound similar but have two completely different meanings. In normal English, nobody would correct someone speaking these words because of how similar they sound. But because of how distinct and precise the Minglish language is, it's very easy to tell when Metro says a specific word but actually means something else. He's constantly corrected because of this, especially from smarter students like Mizzy. Since Metro is relatively hot-headed, this can easily get on his nerves and insult his pride, usually ending up with the person correcting him being beaten up or shoved in a locker. Because of this, most people don't correct him and let him pronounce the words wrong. Metro is together with Maku, the cheerleader captain, and both are secretly together with Mace. Metro and Maku officially met when Metro had his last football game in his first year. Team Infernal was losing and just needed a single touchdown to win against Team Paradise. Seeing this, Maku asked one of the cheerleaders who the quarterback was, to which she received Metro's name. Maku gave it her all and cheered as loud as she could, screaming Metro's name at the top of her lungs while doing her special cheerleading pose she saves for emergencies. Metro was focused on winning the playoffs and not really paying any mind to the cheerleaders. As he hiked the ball and walked backwards, getting ready to throw it, he finally noticed Maku standing out and cheering him on as hard as she could. With a few seconds left on the clock, Metro completely froze. All he could do was stare in slow motion at the lady rooting him on. After feeling frozen in time for what felt like hours, he was sacked to the ground and injured by an angel and lost the playoffs. He lost because of Maku, damn! Same place. I don't know if the character's confused. What do you mean? What do you mean, Metro and Pride? Mizzy! We're talking Mizzy. A minus Pride, specifically. Just like how Metro is minus Rav. Oh, you mean the insane pride, hang on, of his insane pride. I mean, again, you can be wrathful and prideful, I guess. Maku felt terrible about this and immediately ran up to him apologizing, blaming herself for the loss of the playoffs. As she was stammering, all Metro could do was focus on her eyes, with the same stadium lights shining brightly behind her. His vision was blurry from being sacked so hard, and he was too confused to speak. Before he could ask for her number, he passed out. He woke up at the IPU Minfirmary with Mightflate, an IPU district superintendent, speaking to Metro's father about his injury. Thankfully, it was just a mild concussion and wrist sprain, and would heal in a couple of weeks. Once Mightflate left, Metro's father expressed much disappointment about Metro's loss of the playoffs. Metro ignored him, his vision still thinking about that cheerleader he saw. Before his father left in a huff, he mentioned that someone came in before him and wrote something on Metro's cast. Wondering what it was, Metro painfully rotated his arm to look. It was a terribly written phone number with a heart on it saying, "Call me." Signed by Maku. This would be the start of Metro and Maku's relationship. Cute. How very cute. Now onto his enhanced form. Merzerker Metro, or Merktro, is Metro's second form. He's 13 foot or 4 meters tall and weighs 1,554 pounds, which is 704 kilograms. Merktro still wears the same clothes as his first phase, except they are torn apart and stretched due to his massive shift in this increased size. The spikes on Merktro are multiplied as well, and run all the way from the back of his head down to his tail. Specks of green crystals can be seen on Merktro's face, primarily under his green glowing eyes. Unlike some other transformations, this form is natural and is caused by a type of drug called Green Machine. Green Machine is a type of green crystal crushed into tiny pieces. It can be ingested, snorted, or smoked. All give different types of effects depending on the user's choice. Merktro only recently started to use Green Machine due to a student offering him something that would help him win more matches. Wait, that's already, yeah, is already a different character, I'm sorry. Normally, Metro would ignore an offer like this. He knows he's more than capable of winning most of his football matches without additional help. But recently, Metro ran into a personal issue with his family. A couple of years ago, Metro was made the captain of the football team by his father. Despite his athletic skills and prowess, his father is the main reason he's such a core asset to the football team. Even though Metro won numerous games in the first couple of years, it was unfortunately not enough to make it to the IPU Mid-Career Championship and claim the trophy for Team Infernal. His father scrutinized him for this, especially the fact that he lost such an important match. His father threatened to take him off the team and that he'd never play another sport again. This caused some self-doubt issues in Metro, and why he gets so hot-headed and defensive easier than most other players on the team. Metro began looking for ways to improve his skills. He watched football tips on YouTube, began training every morning at the IPU football field, and started eating healthier. One day he showed up an hour earlier than the rest of the players so he could get some extra time to work out alone. While he was running in place, a short green dinosaur-looking demon wielding a weapon approached him. Metro wasn't concerned about the weapon, as demons are allowed to carry them on infernal or neutral grounds. He did want to know why this person was there, however, so he asked. The green guy didn't speak much. He just chuckled a bit and held up a green baggie. Metro asked him questions as the recipient nodded or shook his head to answer. Metro, hesitating at first, realized this could be the thing he needed to get a perfect win streak and claim the Ultimate Championship trophy by the end of his career. He would end up accepting the offer. Yum is crazy. So much stuff going on. Again, just barely avoiding naming it properly. Listen, an anime I recently started watching has a video sharing website called YouTube. Again, they can't name it YouTube, so it's called YouTube. And YouTube is... I will say the video upload interface sure looks a lot like YouTube's, but what do I know? Metro took the Green Machine in small doses before matches as instructed by the Green Reptilian Man, and it caused his performance to skyrocket. He was effortlessly tanking tackles, throwing the ball ridiculous distance and precision, and juking even the speediest and most acrobatic Paradise Wing players. Metro was on his way to becoming the first Team Infernal quarterback with a flawless winning streak in a full year. However, these small victories wouldn't last forever, as Metro began to notice some green crystals sprouting from his face. When Maku noticed and asked, he lied and said it was a rash. Then he asked Maku if she could cover it up with her makeup. Maku happily obliged, and the cover-up worked, but only for a few months. More foundation needed to be applied to Metro's face as the months passed. Then the worst happened. Metro woke up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat. He was hyperventilating and his vision was blurry. The green crystal specks dotted most of his face, and new spikes were beginning to protrude from his skin. He clutched his chest and ran down the men's infernal dormitory hallway before bursting the door open to the outside. He knew something was about to happen, so he wanted to be as far away from everyone as possible when it did. Thankfully, the IPU football field is far enough away from everybody for him to figure out what's going on, so he sprinted there as fast as he could. As he sprinted there, he felt his body getting bigger, the thumps of his footsteps getting louder and his grunts getting heavier. Once he got to the field, he took out a pocket mirror given to him by Maku and looked at himself. Except it wasn't himself at all. Metro roared furiously and began scratching up the grass and seeds, while the Green Reptilian Man giggled just outside of the stadium lights from the darkness. And then the confrontation happened in the story. Alright, Makuroma! Makuroma is a tall 23-year-old moth demon student that attends IPU. She is 286 pounds, which is 130 kilograms, and is 8'5", which is 2.5 meters tall. She usually dons a black cheerleader outfit along with her custom pink fluffy pom-poms. Maku is captain of Team Infernal's cheerleading squad and usually leads the charge with her attractive looks and energetic personality. She rarely ever gets tired and practices yoga before cheerleading in the gymnasium. She stretches every single morning after waking up, multiple times during practice and once before she goes to sleep. Mako has a ribbon tail that is used to maintain her balance and to grab smaller items when she's multitasking. She knows hundreds of different cheerleading positions and hopes to bring happiness and joy to everyone in her life she meets. While Mako is cheery and energetic, she's one of the least intelligent students at IPU. Ouch. She's been held back 4 times and is a bit older than all of her friends. This is due to her focusing so much on cheerleading and less on her grades. Schoolwork and anything that isn't immediately attention-grabbing will be completely ignored by her. When she's doing neither of those, she can usually be seen hanging out with Metro and Maze. Mako is so attractive to both the Infernal and Paradise Wing students that she's constantly being flirted with, to the point where Metro has had to fight a few students for them to back down. Mako unfortunately doesn't know what's going on and thinks people are just being friendly to her, so she usually welcomes it. As a child, Mako lived in an orphanage. She didn't even know her parents, as they put her up for adoption as soon as she was born. Unfortunately, the orphanage had been known to mistreat kids, and Mako was no exception to this. Despite this, she tried her best to cheer up the other kids with positivity and silly dance moves. She'd get both verbally and physically abused, more than the other kids for breaking protocol, but she felt it was worth it, even if it brought an ounce of joy to the kids she considered her friends. She lived at the orphanage for years, all the way into her mid-teens, constantly entertaining kids of all shapes and sizes at the expense of being abused and forced to do extra labor. Wow, I was not expecting this part to her backstory. Why does she need tragic backstory? One day, a very tall insect mother and her purple bee daughter walked into the orphanage looking for a child to adopt. The daughter did not want to be there, but the mother hushed her and asked the orphanage if they had any insect-like kids to match her child. The director of the orphanage said that the pink moth was the closest thing they had, and that bug children usually aren't up for adoption at this particular orphanage. The mother, impatient, settled for the pink moth and immediately adopted her. The director explained that there was an entire process to approve if the child can be given to the foster parent, but the explanation was quickly dropped when the mother pulled out a case full of money. After a decade and a half since her birth, Mako was finally adopted. Most friendly people have sad backstories. Now you say that to the DDLC player. I know no examples of this whatsoever. Mako was extremely grateful for the adoption and tried to do everything she could to help around her new home. Her new parents scolded her for this, however, and told her to relax and be treated like a queen. Her new parents would often take photos with her in public at big events and showings. Mako, confused by the pampering, eventually accepted it and lived a fairly luxurious few years at her new home. She tried to get along with her new sister, Highness, but Highness wanted absolutely nothing to do with her. There was an older sister as well, who was an angel. She told Mako all about her experience with school and college and how she was attending her final year at college called IPU. This college was coincidentally funded by Mako's adoptive parents. Interested, Mako asked them if she could attend IPU. After a long discussion, the parents decided to let her enroll, but only if she agreed to represent the cheerleading squad and bring in more attention to the college. Considering Mako basically did that as a child, she more than happily agreed. And let's also check her other form, obviously. Heartmaker Makuroma, Mamaku, is Makuroma's second form. She's much taller than her first phase, with a height of 10 foot, 3 meters, and weighs 369 pounds, which is 167 kilograms. Hamaku is a darker shade of pink than Maku. She wears a sweater around her arms, her wings are much larger and pointier, and her legs are covered in wraps. Hamaku is much taller than Maku and is currently unknown. It's currently unknown whether Hamaku possesses any special type of ability or power. Her personality is a lot more laid back, and despite constantly being tired, Hamaku seems to be more intelligent and observant than her first phase. Unlike Murktro, Hamaku does not need Green Machine to trigger. Unfortunately, Maku's first time transforming into Hamaku was a much worse experience. One random day in the middle of the night, Maku started having a nightmare. This nightmare was like none other she had before. It felt uncannily real. So real, in fact, that she didn't even realize she was dreaming at first. But then she noticed her door slowly open without a sound. Everything was quiet for about 5 minutes. Maku couldn't hear her own breaths. All she could do was look around. After 5 minutes passed, a dark, shadowy figure entered through the narrow crevice of the open door. The figure reached as tall as the dorm ceiling and had long, witch-like claws shrouded in darkness. It locked eyes with Hamaku and crept closer and closer to her. Hamaku couldn't move, no matter how much she struggled. Her blankets and sheets bound her to her bed. She tried to scream, but she had no mouth. I have no mouth, but I must scream reference. Maybe, I don't know. As if it was sealed shut. The shadow climbed on top of her, and with a menacing hiss, followed by a laugh, slowly inserted one of its long, bony fingers into Maku's chest. The tip of its nail pricking Maku's heart. Maku jolted awake and screamed. Her roommate, terrified by the sound and Maku's new appearance, ran out of the dorm and never came back. Maku felt extremely fatigued and tired after this, and went to go check on herself in the mirror. What she found would shock her for the rest of her life. Her bedsheets had turned into the clothes she was now wearing, her blanket as her sleeves, her black sheets as her undergarments, and her pillowcases as her wings. Maku didn't know how to process this new look and immediately broke down. She was worried her friends and loved ones would think of her as a freak and the IPU faculty would expel her. After sobbing for about an hour, Maku noticed her skin start to become her regular shade of pink. She felt the clothes lift off her body and go back to the bed, as if they knew exactly where to go. Afraid to sleep, Maku stayed awake the rest of the night, and anxiously continued her life at IPU with this form in secret. After a month passed, still shaken up, Maku started to feel a little better. She hasn't had the same nightmare since then. However, she also stopped dreaming completely. This was not a case of her forgetting her dreams. She remembers a lot of her dreams vividly, but after this nightmare, they were just gone. This convinced Maku that she really did transform that night, and it wasn't just a horrible collection of nightmares tied together. After a couple of months, Maku showered, put up her pajamas, and went to sleep as normal. Then another dream finally happened, and Maku was immediately on the defensive. However, this time, she could move and speak. Something slowly entered her room, but this time it was an entity of light instead of darkness. Maku, frightened after the previous nightmare, demanded to know who this entity was. The entity claimed it was here to help, and that it knew about the events of what happened to Maku on that night a couple months ago. It offered comfort and solace, and reassured Maku that is brave enough. That if she is brave enough, she can fight off these nightmares for good. Maku, unsure, would continue to ask questions and concerns until she was convinced she could trust the light figure. The light figure promised to visit her dreams every once in a while in order to give her more advice and solace about this form. The figure knew that one day the shadow would be back for Maku again, and wanted to make sure she was prepared next time. With enough practice and training, Maku could eventually turn into a Hamaku at will. Though it stresses her body. She revealed this form alone to Metro on the football field, and Mace on the IPU roof, to which the two revealed their alternate forms as well. Since then, Maku has had a deeper connection to the two of her partners more than ever before, and looks forward to the comfort of the white light in her dreams. Gives her every once in a while. So much lore. So much reading. You know what? I think we have time for one more, maybe. Alright. Hey, Mizzy. Mizzy, Missourius, is a green-feathered bird student that attends IPU and is 19 years old. He weighs 171 pounds, which is 77 kilograms, and is 7 foot 6 inches, so 2.3 meters. He wears a black and white sweater along with black and white track pants. The hoodie on Mizzy is actually a part of his head, so he wears sweaters without a hood attached. Mizzy is extremely intelligent but also cocky, having a perfect GPA across all classes, with the exception of a B in mystical education. He constantly over-explains things and rubs it in students' faces if he knows something they don't. This makes him a prime candidate for bullying. Despite being taught a lesson multiple times from demons like Terrace and Metro, he always goes back to square one. Oh, so Terrace bullies him too, interesting. Mizzy gets infatuated very easily when he sees a conventionally attractive woman. He will do anything he possibly can to try and impress them in hopes they'll go on a date with him. He's especially attracted to Makaroma, and has made numerous attempts at flirting with her, despite Makaroma being taken by Metro and Mace. He wants to be added to the polycule, I guess. While Mako finds it funny, since she doesn't know what he's trying to do, this annoys everyone else involved that has to watch it, especially Minsation, who grew up with Mizzy, and shares a bond they've had since they were kids. When Mizzy isn't trying to impress faculty or ladies, he's usually hanging out with Minsation, usually playing video games like Mock It Monsters or going off on long nerdy tangents to her. Mizzy's intelligence is so high that he skipped his first year of IPU entirely due to his grades from high school. He's been known to make revolutionary inventions, some of which could even be beneficial to society. However, he feels these inventions could be better, so he usually scraps them before anyone even has a chance at seeing what he's made. He also does the bare minimum when he can, because staying on the same invention or idea for too long bores him. He's very interested in chemistry, which is a class that combines chemicals and medicine to create viruses, or cures depending on which wing of IPU you're under. Mizzy's dad is a world-famous scientist, which is where he got his smarts from. His dad helped contribute to multiple repairs and additions to IPU's infrastructure, and collaborates with Highness's family for further building plans. His dad rarely visits, only seeing Mizzy twice. One for his high school graduation, the other for his birth. Wow. Mizzy's dad is extremely busy these days, to the point where he even forgets he has a wife and son. The mother isn't as smart as her son or husband, but she takes care of Mizzy's pet mouse for him when he's away at IPU. Named Mosqueak, based on his favorite Mock It monster. He's had it since he was a child. She cares a lot about Mizzy and worries he's focusing too much on girls instead of making friends. Interesting. Think Mizzy would cause the minus corruption? He would definitely do it. I feel like if the corruption broke out in the IPU world, yeah, I feel like Mizzy might be behind it. Also, it's interesting that Missourius has a pet rat. When you compare that to Azurius, who hates that Stitriol has a pet rat. Like, Stitriol has a pet rat, Azurius hates it, but Missourius has a pet rat of his own. You can definitely tell the differences between the two, I guess, in that alone. Mizzy has been known to become desperate behind the scenes when he doesn't get what he wants. He went as far as working out a deal with the Infernal Dean Motion. If Mizzy could get some schedules for a few Paradise students, Motion would put in a good word for Mizzy for any demon ladies that enter his office. He hesitated at first, but figured it wouldn't be a big deal for the dean to know the location of some college kids outside of campus grounds. Despite Mizzy's extreme intellect, he can't seem to figure out the best way to a girl's heart, no matter how hard he tries. He's not bright enough to realize that someone out there already likes him in that way. Perhaps it's that someone he spends all his free time with who would be the next one, Minsation. Interesting, isn't it? There's still 11, 12 more pages technically with this. I'm definitely not reading those today. So, oh god, I have to do more RetroSpecter again next week. I could go a bit longer today, but my throat will be thankful if I don't go too long. I can feel it drying up. So yes, on account of sparing my throat, I will not go longer. I will split it off and continue next week. And then next week we should have time to finish that, to finish all the lore, and on top of finishing the lore, maybe check out the gallery and maybe play some other mods finally again. Thanks for the hydrate. And remember, I have to do more reading tomorrow as well. I am playing a visual novel tomorrow, you know? To be fair, it is a visual novel that features at least partial voice acting, so it's not nearly as bad as this. The game does take some stuff off my hands, which is very, very nice. Okay. But that's that. Also, maybe in between this stream and the next FNF stream, I might play a little bit to get achievements. We'll see. I'm not entirely sure about that yet. Who do we raid? Zora is playing a game that I don't want to be spoiled on. Pistef is watching sports, which I couldn't give less of a shit about. So that leaves... Ninth Maniac is an option, I guess. Rain is an option. What is Rain doing? Let me check. Wow. Is it just... Okay, Twitch is having a really hard time loading that stream, apparently. What the hell? Let me just open the other one as well. Okay, yeah, no, Ninth Maniac was rated, that worked immediately. So yeah, we have just chatting. Or Legend of Zelda, or Legend of Zelda. You know what, let's go Legend of Zelda. Sure. Alright, let me set up the raid. There we go. And now let's head on over. And everyone, thank you so much for being here. I hope I'll see a lot of you around tomorrow. Remember, there will also be a Sunday stream and a Thursday stream. I really, you know, I wanted to maybe cut back on streams a little bit around Christmas time to just get a bit more of a breather in, but then Genshin had to update and everything, and now I have to do streams. It is a bit annoying. It is definitely a bit annoying. But what can I do? Anyway, say hi to Ninth for me. I will say hi as well, obviously. And yeah, I'll see you over there. And anyone who's watching this after it's been uploaded as a VOD, your support has also been greatly appreciated. And you know what? You can catch me live in the future if you so choose. If you're interested in FNF, I play it every single Friday on my Twitch. I also stream every Saturday and sometimes other days of the week too, on a bit more of an irregular schedule. Yeah, if you are curious about that, link to my Twitch is in the description down below. That's basically it. Thank you so much for checking out this VOD, and who knows, maybe I will see you around in the future. Until then, have a good one, and goodbye.